Boys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Check
Can
one,
you hear
two.
Yeah,
Let's get a sound on everybody.
You hear me?
Shreyas
Ollie?
is going to be our favorite.
Yes, we can hear
streamer.
you.
Ali's got a nice beer.
Right, it's not tea at all.
Alright, let me cut the music here and let me put us on our main screen and I will move us over.
Jordan out here clutching up with all the graphics, all the backgrounds.
There we go.
Freaking wilding out here.
It's
Here
looking
on our main
professional.
display. Welcome everybody to the Pigskin Banter podcast. We know we are starting late in the season. We know it's week 7. We know it's a dumb time to start a podcast, but we don't give a fuck. We're here to have fun. We're here to talk shit.
We
We're
are
here to talk
immediately
football.
demonetized.
And for this week, boys, I thought the best way to start with the shit show was to talk about the shit show that was this last week in the NFL. Is anybody in the NFL good right now? Because good Lord, this past week.
I mean,
Well,
let's start with the former undefeated teams, 49ers, Eagles, complete dog shit. Both of them. Embarrassment last week by the Eagles and an embarrassment by the kicker of the Niners. It was ridiculous what happened.
Well, I'm not really putting that one on the Niners kicker. It's crappy.
The kicker with a
Cleveland
third-round pick. I mean, he has to make that kick.
He has to, but it's not like Brock Purdy played well at all. You know, it's not like – I mean, we saw the moment like Trent Williams had to miss a little time in that game. Christian McCaffrey's down, Debo's down, and Brock Purdy, his Cinderella story felt like it came to an end right there. I mean, Cleveland's defense is historically good, but – you know, that being said, if Brock Purdy was any good, you'd expect more from him. And it feels like Hurts has taken a step back this year. I mean, we have 2 Eagles fans here. How many total turnovers did he have last year? Because he's already at 8.
Okay, so let's get one thing out of the way. He had 3 interceptions last week. One of them should not even – the fact that it's an interception, yes, by the rules, it's an interception. It hit his receiver in the hands, then got punched out from his receiver's
You could
hands.
say that about any quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that
Well,
felt like
I'm
that
just
was
saying-
like half of
May
Dak's
I chime in quickly? There's some
I'm just
because
saying,
I think
he was
hand raised,
good
bro.
last week. He threw away the game on that interception that was into double coverage. I'm just saying, let's not act like every single turnover last week was his fault either.
Shreyas, you wanted to go?
well, he also should have had 5 interceptions. He also had 2 dropped interceptions. Also, so you're probably looking at 5 total, or maybe 4
I mean, at the end of the day,
if you want to wipe
think about
away
it
that
like
one
this.
weird drop.
You think about it like this. As a quarterback, you're going to have to force some balls in. There's going to be a lot of 50-50 balls in the game. So that's stuff that happens in every game. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes versus the Jets, versus the Lions. It was – stuff happens. You can't
Well,
just
against
go
the
and say that.
Lions, it was Mahomes' receivers that dropped 4 or 5 passes. They couldn't get open. I mean, the Lions' defense is a lot better than I think anybody really expected it to be this year. I mean, they still got concerns in the secondary, but Aiden Hutchinson's taken a great step forward. If I'm being honest, the only team that right now I feel like has looked like really like a good, complete team the entire year has been the Lions. You know, they beat the Chiefs in week 1 on the road where Goff really struggled last year. They've got what looks like bare minimum top 3 offensive line. You can definitely argue it's the best offensive line. If nothing else, it's younger across the board than Philly's. Defense has stepped up. They're probably missing, a top level corner, but decent
Don't disrespect
linebacker.
my boy Sutton.
Yeah, well, I've heard like they're gonna try and trade for Surtain the second or something like that. That's been proposed, But I mean, the Lions.
I've
feel
said
like
that. I think from what I hear,
they haven't
Denver's
been
not going
embarrassed at all. They had that one tough break against Seattle, but I think that game went to overtime.
It did.
Yeah, so
Something
I mean,
interesting
it
there
happens
was
every year. The Chiefs lost to the Colts last year. I don't think Philly has anything they really need to be immediately worried about. And the Niners
secondary injuries, but
Oh,
well,
we do.
But you guys should, if you guys are the team we think you are, you should be able to overcome that. And even though you're entering a tough stretch, I don't think you guys are all of a sudden going to fall apart and miss the playoffs. You'll still be
Philly-
competing for the division. The Niners, they're a team I'm a bit more concerned about, but that's only because of their injury history. You know, McCaffrey, I don't think they should rush him back. I don't think they should rush Debo back. You know, they are going to need these guys for their tough stretch down the road.
For sure. I do think you mentioned the Brock Purdy Cinderella story coming to an end earlier. And I think you put anybody on that Niners team and take away all the offensive weapons against the Browns defense, what can you expect out of that quarterback to do? Like, there's
He
nothing.
still had George Kittle, arguably the second best tight end in football overall. He still had Brandon Ayuk. He still had, I mean, Trent Williams came back, so he still had that. He still had one of, if not the best play callers in football. That defense was still healthy. And the
about
defense,
that,
Jim Schwartz has Kyle Shanahan's
Jim
number.
Schwartz,
Let's not forget
yeah,
about
that's what I
that.
was about to say.
Oh, right, because
it doesn't really matter. You know, if you got the
It
pieces,
does.
if Brock Purdy it was anywhere I mean, he was fourth heading into that weekend. He was fourth in the MVP odds. Fourth. Ahead of McCaffrey, if I'm not mistaken. But
that was a mistake.
like, if he's gonna be an MVP level guy, you're gonna need to see more from him without all of the pieces around him. You've got to be able to overcome that, especially since it's not like he was playing behind the Giants' offensive line with, you know, Darius Slayton as his number one.
if Brock Purdy got drafted by the Giants, he wouldn't be in the league right now. I'm being honest with you.
That's a fair
Yeah,
point.
I'm not going
Without
to argue
Shanahan,
that. I'm not gonna-
that's a fair point.
What's interesting to me about
That's not
you
a. That's
guys
not a
mentioned
fair point.
if Mahomes was drafted to the Giants, he would be in the league, but he would probably be a backup.
if Mahomes was drafted to the Bears, Mahomes would be out of the league right now, by the way. For anybody that says the Bears should take him at Mahomes, it would have never worked. With Nagy, fuck no. Mahomes would be
whatever quarterback that goes to the Bears is
God, no.
it's over for them. Completely
Right.
over.
But
franchises are built like that.
speaking of quarterbacks, you guys talked about Jared Goff, and I'm amazed with how well he's played. But what's funny to me is that Jared Goff was seen as like a throwaway piece kind of in that trade of just like he's going to go to the Lions, they'll move on from him in a couple seasons. And yet Jared Goff being the throwaway quarterback has been a better asset in a trade than Russell Wilson was in a trade where Russell Wilson was the prize quarterback. And that's crazy to
Clearly,
me.
the prize was Geno. Clearly,
Geno
like
wasn't part of the trade. It was Drew Lock.
Well, Gino's
Right.
the one that beat out Drew Lock.
Well, yeah,
I forgot about that.
Geno wasn't even part of the damn trade.
In 2018, Jared Goff was in a Super Bowl in a kind of similar situation where he wasn't the driving force behind the offense. That was clearly, you know, whatever offensive mind was running it, but he had enough pieces around him, a good offensive line. Solid.
Gurley.
Yeah, Todd Gurley. I mean, now Todd Gurley's just been replaced by David Montgomery, which, you know, obviously was what everybody expected this year. I mean, who needs Jahmyr Gibbs? But I mean, Jared Goff, like, he's always been a little
Wasted a first
underrated.
round pick on him.
Could we have another Case Keenum Nick Foles situation where the NFC Championship game is between Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield, two guys nobody
Absolutely.
would have thought.
It'll
No.
never happen.
Yeah, the Bucks.
Baker
aren't getting
Mayfield.
anywhere.
Will maybe take the Buccaneers to the wild card, but he won't get past that.
I mean, probably
I
not.
had
but
Atlanta winning that division going into the year, and while that's still up in the air, I
I don't
can't
think
say
they're
I was
going anywhere
expecting
with
Desmond
Ritter.
Ritter to look this bad.
Yeah.
And
Think
also,
about Atlanta.
people are hyping up like how great Bijan has been this year. He hasn't been like, I mean, he's had some good plays, but he hasn't been this monster that everybody thought he was going to be. I don't know if that's scheme or what.
The thing about the Falcons is, like, as good as a running back can be, a running back can only do so much. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the rest of the offense. When look at, for instance, Pitts was a first-round pick. He had 2 good years, and this year, his first touchdown was last week. They're not using their weapons. Their scheme is off. So at the end of the day, one position can't win a whole game. It's a team game at the end of the day. So no matter how good Bijan is, he won't make for all we know, they get a quarterback, a proper scheme and proper quarterback next year. Bijan can flip into a complete monster and be the person that we are saying that he is. But as of right now, he can only have the highlight plays that he's getting because of the rest of the offense. So we
I
really
think
can't
it's
put that
full-
on him.
Yeah, I think it's fully on Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is probably the most hated coach by fantasy owners because all his weapons, he goes, nah, we're not going to use those guys. Pitts, fuck him. Bijan, fuck him. No. We're going to use the guys that nobody has on their rosters, and that's how we're going to win. And it was working for them for some reason.
Mhm.
It was working for them for a little bit, and now it's looking like things are starting to fall apart. But
Well, that's how Arthur Smith rolled when he was the OC in Tennessee too. So like, it's kind of his thing, I guess.
I mean, Bijan this year had 10 attempts for 56 yards in week 1. Monster game in week 2 against Green Bay, 19 for 124. Then 10 attempts against Detroit, 14 for 105 against Jacksonville. And then the past 2 games, 14 and 13. And he hasn't gotten to 50 rushing yards in the past 2 weeks. So I don't know what's going on there, but I think they need to get rid of Arthur Smith. I think they need to replace Desmond Ridder. And, I mean, they've got all of the pieces. They have a solid offensive line. They have what we would expect to be a top-level running back. Great, 2 great jump ball options in London and Kyle Pitts. The big bodies can go up and get it. But just, I mean, outside of purely a fantasy perspective, it's just they're not getting anything out of these guys. And I don't know if it's like he's taking this whole by committee thing way too seriously or what, but Bijan should be getting more than 10 attempts a game.
Jess,
I mean,
Shreyas?
to ask you a question, do you think this goes back to the offseason when the Falcons could have maybe added a quarterback, like with the whole Lamar contract saga going on? Do you think they could have maybe tried to make a move for him?
They were
or
heavily
trying to think
linked
of
to Lamar, right?
other Aaron Rodgers maybe on the market.
Yeah, I don't know if
yeah,
it goes
they were
back
him.
to,
I think the Niners, if I'm not mistaken, were also for at the moment.
Let's not forget they were also huge in on Deshaun Watson and was the
They were there. They were there.
I mean, they need to. I mean, it's hard to say because, I mean, if you were to bring in an established guy like Lamar, or, I mean, even more so in Aaron Rodgers, I mean, we all know Aaron Rodgers likes to run things his way. He likes things his way, a certain way, his way. Like he goes over to the Jets and he has a whole list of demands about, what guys he wants brought in, probably schematically how he would like certain things done. I don't know if bringing in a guy like Lamar, who needs things a certain way, or Aaron Rodgers, who wants things a certain, would have changed their approach. But at the very least, they got a better quarterback than Ridder. With how things are going there, if they don't have faith in their quarterback, then they need to just go all in and run Bijan into the ground. I know that normally only happens to running backs once they're in their contract year, so you can just get rid of them. But they need to do that ASAP if they don't have faith in Ridder. But they're not doing that. And Bijan, I think most people would say, is their most versatile asset. I mean, you saw it with the Giants in 2018 when we drafted Saquon. He's going off for over 2,000 all-purpose yards. We are feeding him the rock as much as possible because he's our best playmaker. They need to do that with Bijan, but they're just not. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched every snap from Falcons games, but they just need to involve their playmakers more, and I don't know what's holding them back from doing so. If it's that Desmond Ridder just can't get the ball to Kyle Pitts or Drake London, or if it's a scheme thing, but changes need to be made if they're going to take these skill guys and go to the next level.
So, boys, I was thinking what we should do since this is our first one. I think we should just get a general ranking of where we kind of all see where these teams fit. So I have a tier maker here. that I'm gonna pull up. Let me pull that up for everybody here. I will present share screen. There we go. And I am showing. All right. So I figured we could go. I have them in order of the games they played last week. And these are the tiers. And we can add tiers, remove tiers, whatever. I was thinking we can put Super Bowl teams we think are going to the Super Bowl, teams or Super Bowl contenders, teams we think are winning their division, teams we think will be in the wild card, teams that will just miss, teams that are going to cause their fan bases pain, teams that are just plain bad, the super trash, and then we have a tier just for the Carolina Panthers. We can put them in there right now. And that's just the Press Panther
So
tier.
mean.
Since they're so bad, they have no wins. Oh, and they don't have.
What about the Bears?
They
You
don't
forgot the
have-
Bears.
Yeah, but the Bears have 2 picks. They have
Gordon,
the
you forgot
Panthers
the Bears.
pick and their own.
That's a good point.
Yeah, the Bears are probably getting Caleb and Marvin Harrison, so they'll be able to ruin both of their careers.
Oh, does that mean,
Panthers
Justin
fans,
Fields
you
getting
have the
traded
Carolina
to
Hurricanes to
Pittsburgh?
look forward to. You're fine.
Do you want Justin Fields in Pittsburgh, Ollie?
Listen, you just be exchanging one Boston Pickett for another Boston
Yeah.
Field. That's how I would take it.
Ali,
It's just going to be
Remember when
Trubisky. So you guys want to do Trubisky again? You want to take
Oh, yeah,
another?
the Kyler Murray thing
Justin
you're
Fields
talking
is
about?
way more mobile.
Oh no,
me-
I'm just
me
saying
and
you're
I-
taking
me and-
another quarterback that had to go through Chicago and bring him to Pittsburgh.
It's fair.
I'm not saying he's as good at, or Trubisky's as good as Fields. I'm just saying, you're taking a ruined player. I mean, any player coming out of Chicago, I don't know, man.
Don't disrespect Trubisky, all right? He's a former Pro Bowler.
Oh,
He is the MVP.
oh God.
Never forget the MVP. All right,
got-
so
Oh yeah, the
Casey,
MVP
what's
for
the
that one?
Casey is still a Super Bowl contender, right?
yeah,
Super Bowl.
Straight
Super Bowl.
in
Can you
Super
ever
Bowl.
count them out?
I mean, I think we can all agree that when it comes to a combination of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed, if the one concern about the team is figuring out the offense, they're going to be okay.
Let's not forget today the trade for Hardman. I
Oh,
don't know if it went through.
it's all coming together. McCole Hardman.
He is a speedster that they need, right?
Yeah,
Maybe.
they made a big mistake
mean,
letting him go last year, and now they're
As a
bringing him
Giants
back.
fan, I'll tell you, I have nothing but faith in Kadarius Toney. Class act. Right there. He's fantastic.
I'm trying to
Chiefs' biggest
think of a
mistake,
Super Bowl.
You're wrong, by the way.
Another
The Chiefs'
Super Bowl.
biggest
Do you want to
mistake
add the
letting
Eagles on the
Juju
Super Bowl
walk.
tier as well?
Of course,
We'll
of
get
course.
to them.
course.
Let's
Oh,
go
God,
in
not
order
that
of the
bum.
teams here. The Broncos. I think they are.
The Eagles. I
They
think, should be-
honestly may be the only other team that could compete for depressed Panther tier.
Mhm.
They literally 2 years in a row thought they won the offseason, and both times it went horribly wrong. I mean, you bring in a guy in Sean Payton. He actively shit talks Nathaniel Hackett, deservingly so, and yet he loses to Nathaniel Hackett.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Chances are, I mean, if the draft happened tomorrow, the Broncos would be able to draft Drake May, so Sean Payton would get his guy. They can cut Russell Wilson. They're still going to eat a lot of dead cap, but not as much as they kept him, and they can move forward. Depressed Panther fan, I feel like it exists in and of itself because they might have literally traded the number 1 overall pick in one of the greatest quarterback drafts of all time. And instead they did so they could draft a quarterback who right now looks like he might be, of the top 3 drafted, the worst, as well as just overall the smallest quarterback ever. So I can't in good conscience put anyone else there.
All right, so Broncos to trash then.
I would argue that Bryce Young is going to have a significantly better career than Anthony Richardson. That's just how
Yeah.
that's just how I'm
If
saying it.
injury, I mean, Anthony
I agree with
Richardson
that.
already is done for the year, but
The
I
Colts
I mean,
are
at
just
least
gonna let
he's
another
shown
QB
tremendous
die.
flashes.
They're just
I
gonna
mean, I'ma
Andrew
just-
lock him, man. Oh god. All right, Broncos going to trash. Here's an interesting one. I want Shreyas to take it away. Our Ravens fan here. What do we think about the Ravens? Lamar not throwing a lot of touchdowns yet this season, but they are getting. They're not bad either. They're just kind of in that mid-level. And do we think playoff team, wild card? Do we think they're going to miss? What do we think, Shreyas?
See, it's a tough one because I'm between three. I'm between the division, wild card, and just miss. Division, obviously, I just think when it comes to just all the other three teams, I think Cincinnati they have their problems with Burrow's health, and defensively they don't look as strong as before. I mean, offensive line's always a concern. The Browns are the Browns. I have no idea what's going on with Deshaun Watson. Steelers have a lot of problems offensively with Matt Canada being a moron, and Kenny Pickett's just looking like he doesn't know what he's doing 90% of the time. The Ravens, though, I mean, when I look at it, I look at a team that potentially they can be a top 10 offense, but I'm looking at a quarterback who's I think has the most turnovers so far this season. He's playing well for the most part with throwing the ball and running the ball, but taking care of the ball has not been a strong suit. And when it comes to the second half as a whole, defense is not defense. Offense is just I don't know what goes wrong with the offense in the second half. Defensive, I think they're a top 5 unit in all football. So, but if I have to be honest, I will say division just because of the fact that the other three teams have many more problems and question marks than the Ravens.
All right, so let's go down the order here. Let's do it this way. We'll go down the order. Everybody say if you think the Ravens will make the playoffs or not, and then we'll go down the order and ask who we think is winning that division. I, for one, think they'll make the playoffs.
They're absolutely going to make the playoffs and win the division. Not a doubt in my mind, honestly.
I had them just missing before the year, but I'm not sure if Cincinnati's going to be able to turn it around fast enough for that to stay the case. So I'm going to say, as of right now, I think they win the division, but they might just lose in the first round. But I think they should win the division as things stand.
So I say the same thing. They're gonna win the division, get knocked out in the wild card.
All right,
I agree with the wild card only because Lamar Jackson historically has sucked in the playoffs. Just if you look at his career record, his career touchdown to interception ratio, all that good stuff, Lamar Jackson isn't that good in the playoffs. I don't know if teams are figuring him out, like if he's one-dimensional, whatever you want to say, but he hasn't shown that he can get over that playoff hump. He did beat Tennessee once, but other than that one time, I mean, he's not really consistent in the playoffs. So I would stick the Ravens into the wild card spot. They're probably going to go one and done.
Fair enough. I do think that, yeah. So, I mean, right now, this ranking is more of a, like, where they'll walk into the playoffs rather than what round. But, yeah. Speaking of the Titans, we have the team with 3 quarterbacks, none of which have looked good. A team that is apparently now shopping Derrick Henry, and a team with no direction, and that is the Titans. And I don't know what happened. They at least were known for having a good defense every year, and that's not even working for them right now. I think this is the end of this Titans era, and the fact that they didn't really do much to show for it except win the AFC one year, but then do nothing really in the playoffs with it. It's kind of depressing. I feel for you Titans fans out there.
Yeah, it's rough.
You want to know my favorite tier I'd put them in? I'd put them in tier pain.
Yes, I agree. Because
I think
they're not going to be
is pure. It's like it's just agonized right now.
Yeah, they're not going to be bad enough to have like a top 5 pick, but they're going to end up and they're going to lose the best player on their team most likely. So I think
they're the type of team to lose the game that's gonna get you into the playoffs, but ruin another team's chances of going into the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't even know if they're that good anymore.
I would argue that Mike Vrabel is definitely one of the better head coaches in the league. So he'll definitely pull out some wins, here and there, like what Bilal is saying, screw over other teams just because of Mike Vrabel. But personnel-wise, that team's not very good.
I think, well, what's the difference between pain, bad, and trash? Because, like, I could definitely see pain, but, like, the Titans seem like they're going to be bad enough.
I think when we talk about pain.
Well, yeah, no, but, like, are they so bad? Are they, like, not good enough to make the playoffs and not even really contend, but they're not going to be bad enough to finish with the top 10 pick? Or Because like
Payne is definitely
with
like
Payne,
you're
I think
not
it's
making
just
the
like-
playoffs and your
Yeah.
fans are disappointed. But bad is just like
Okay.
this team just you kind of went in knowing the team wasn't going
Bad
to
as
be good.
you
and
bad
you're
as you
not
expect
good.
to be
And then
bad, but you're just
trash
not good.
is that you were expected to be something, maybe not great, but something, and you are a complete train wreck.
Okay, that oh yeah, then Payne definitely because
Like, for
Titans.
example,
I
the
think people
2021
thought they were
Baltimore
good,
Ravens were
at
Payne
least, you know.
because they were just pure bad.
Yeah. No. I get it.
For example,
Now,
2021 Baltimore
The
Ravens were Payne
opposite of
because of all
Payne,
the
I'd
injuries.
say, is being a Dolphins fan right now. And besides
Super
a
Bowl.
division loss to the Bills, I think that's what a lot of people, forget is that was a division game. So while they did lose to the Bills, it was a division game, and everything else they've looked amazing. And
Well,
so
the only knock that I would have against I would still have them in the Super Bowl tier, but the only knock I would have against them is their strength of schedule. I mean, yeah, they beat the crap out of the team that they should have beaten, right? So you can't knock them for it. But the only team that they played that had a winning record that was also, people consider a contender is the Bills, and they looked bad in that game in the second half.
It
Yeah,
was
I think
also like it was a close game against the Chargers in week 1 that, I mean, their defense stepped up at the very end there, but it's not like they dominated the Chargers.
to be
You
fair,
know,
the
they-
Chargers play everybody close, and they're like the Vikings last year, where the Chargers could have gone like 13-4, or they could end up like the Vikings this year, where they're shit. Like, it's just when you play that many close games, it means you're a decent team, but it also means you don't know how to close things out, and your record could go anywhere. So I don't think having a close game against the Chargers is that much of a negative for them.
But I feel like so many when people talk about the Dolphins this year, I mean, I feel like that 70-20 slaughter of the Broncos kind of skews things a little bit. Like, one, I think there is still legitimate concern about Tua and his concussions and his health. I feel like that is something that needs to be monitored. They're absolutely of these in the Super Bowl tier. And I have them as like one of the 3 best teams in all of football, but I feel like people are getting a little ahead of themselves, just anointing the Dolphins already.
That's fair. They're in for a test, obviously, this week against the Eagles, and I think that's going to tell us a lot about where teams are this season.
Is it at Philly or is it at Miami?
In Philly.
It's in Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that'll be
good
more
test for both teams. That being said, let's move on to the Colts, and
they're bad.
Trash.
No, I don't think they're trash.
Bad.
are they bad or trash?
But they expected to be bad, so yeah, they're bad.
But at the
I'll
same
tell you
time,
why
they
they're
let
But I do
their
think- I
new
do think they got
quarterback
a
get
good
hurt.
future ahead.
The only reason I say it's trash because every year we all have this expectation that the Colts are going to have some sort of progression, and the only thing they do is take 2 steps back every single year. So not only is the team just complete ass, they don't do anything, and it's just a team that it's a free win for everybody practically.
I disagree. They've
Well, I
shown
look
that
at
they
the
can
Colts.
fight. I mean, Minshew had a good game and then, came back down to reality. But,
That was because of the commentators. That was the commentator curse and a half. I don't know if you guys heard that, but they were literally going, Minshew has not thrown an interception all season, and there it is, the first interception. Yeah, so
yeah. No,
I don't
but
blame Minshew. I blame the commentators on that
Well,
one.
yeah, my problem with the Colts is, as you said, it's like every year. I think 2 years back when they acquired Carson Wentz, we expected them to, I think, win the division that year. Then you go last year, they acquired Matt Ryan, but they were expected to be a wild card team, and they were both years it just fell apart completely. You want to go back to 2021? I don't know what happened with that Week 18 game against Jacksonville, but that's like basically asking for everyone to get fired, and everyone just like firing everybody. Really, I think they got rid of Carson Wentz that year, if I'm not mistaken. That was kind of like the beginning of the end for Frank Reich with the Colts that season, I would think, because I think he got fired midway through the following season.
And replaced with Jeff Saturday, who they were strongly considering for the head coaching gig this season.
They were never doing that. But
Jeez.
here's the
It's
thing,
Jim Irsay.
with Anthony, when Anthony Richardson was playing, they showed that, okay, they've got the pieces here, that this could be something, in down the line, which is why I want to say they're bad. Because, let's be real here. No one thought they were going to be anything this year. So you can't put them in pain. But unlike a team like the Broncos, they've shown that they can fight and even be, kind of competitive. The Broncos haven't even looked that, haven't even looked that good for the most part.
Right.
But there actually were expectations for the Broncos this year. I think everybody expected the Broncos to at least look better than last year. So far, especially defensively, they've looked significantly worse. The offense has actually been better, at least statistically, but that defense is historically bad this year. I guess Sean Payton is the Lincoln Riley of
Not the
NFL.
first time Sean Payton's had an historically bad.
By the way, for a team
Not the
with
first time Sean
a
Payton
horseshoe
had a historically
logo
bad
and a
defense.
team that drafted a guy whose last name was literally Luck, the fact that their last 3 drafted quarterbacks being Peyton Manning, who got injured and they moved on, for Andrew Luck, who then retired because of injuries, and now Anthony Richardson, who seems to get injured every week and is probably done for the season. They are not a lucky team.
He had the one
Not
injury.
at all. Factory of sadness.
Yeah.
And now he's done. But
I would argue the Colts.
Hold
lost
up,
Anthony
boys.
Richardson because of
Hold up,
Anthony
boys.
Richardson.
I just had an idea. The Broncos, bad. Colts, bad. Both horse teams. I think we put them in the same tier and just call it the Glue Factory.
jeez.
Good point.
Doing it.
I can live with that.
All right.
Yeah,
Factory.
sounds
Except,
good.
we're gonna get to a couple of teams, and I think just trash is the only way to put it.
All right. Let's I'm gonna add a row above that, we'll add trash back here. But we definitely need a new tier for those
The
two.
horse teams.
All
So mean. So mean.
What do we have? The
It's so
Jaguars
worth it.
next.
All right, Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are going to win that division. I think
Yeah.
the Texans
Jaguars are winning
only,
the division.
I think the
division
Texans are the only shot at having it just because of how great of a coaching job D'Amico Ryans has done. But I don't think, as long as the Jags can play up to potential and don't play down to opponents, I don't think they're going to have any problem winning that division.
No, I feel like they're going to figure things out there in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence's demise this year has been greatly overstated. Him and ETN are carrying that offense. He needs to work on fumbling a little bit, but I feel like he'll figure that out.
My bad, Jess.
I was just going to finish up saying, and
I think Doug
if
Peterson's
nothing
has been very underrated so far.
And if nothing else, the rest of his division isn't exactly very good. So sorry, go.
Right, yeah. No, I was gonna say that as it stands right now, the Jaguars are definitely a divisional tier just because what they have, and their defense is playing lights out. But I think what separates divisional Jacksonville and Super Bowl contender Jacksonville is if Trevor Lawrence can take that step into elite quarterback. Right now, he's looking like a very good quarterback. But I don't think he's a Super Bowl contending quarterback at the moment. So that's going to take another year or two of development maybe. And then we could be talking about Jacksonville as Super Bowl contenders.
I think it's also what Dougie P we see at coach. If we see early Eagles Doug Peterson, I think they're in good hands. We see towards the end of the Eagles where everything was a train wreck. We'll see. So I think it's going to come down to coaching as well with them.
Fair
That
enough.
being said, boys, the Chicago
We don't need to
Bears.
talk about this. We don't need to talk about it. Right next to the Panthers.
Glue Factory.
Yeah, but they have they
Glue
they
Factory.
can't go in the Panthers tier though. They got 2 first-round picks, probably 1 and 2. So
They
can put them
have
in
the
trash.
Panthers pick. There's a very real chance they get picks 1 and 2.
You guys know they play each other this year, right?
Sorry, Gordon?
The Panthers and the Bears will play each other at some point this year.
Yeah.
Only the NFL is on prime time.
That
The
better not be
greatest
the game of the
fucking
week. That better not be.
Boys, we might have to live stream that game. That was fucking hilarious.
That's going to be a game
Minnesota
that
Vikings.
it's most likely going to be the loser of that game. I mean, the Bears can't lose. Like, chances are they're going to have picks 1 and 2 still. I mean, the only teams that I think can really compete for the number 1 overall pick are the Bears, and they have 2 shots at it. The Giants, the Broncos, and the Patriots. But the Patriots have Bill Belichick, so I imagine they're gonna scrape together a win somewhere. The Giants, if they can get healthy, might be able to get
I think you might be
another
wrong
win or
about that.
two down the line. And that's a big might because one of the games they play is the Patriots. So that's going to cancel that out. And then the Broncos, that they might be a real genuine, challenger for the number 1 overall pick. But Bears fans, like, they're going to have hope again. I don't know why.
The fact that they could increase their draft odds by
back
beating the draft of the number 1 pick odds by beating the Panthers is really funny to me. That being said, the Minnesota Vikings were a team last year that definitely won way too many games for what they deserved. And this year they're probably losing too many games for what they deserve. Kirk Cousins starts out the season insanely strong, can't win. And the only times they're winning is when Kirk looks like ass. So I have no idea what this team is. I think it's got to be pain, right? I mean,
it has to be. Imagine what it's like to be a Vikings fan.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be.
Just imagine.
You have a team that has never had 3 back-to-back losing seasons, and yet they've not won a Super Bowl. They haven't been to one in over 40 years. And now when your quarterback plays well, you lose. When he plays bad, you win. And your star wide receiver, you can't work out a contract with.
That's another team that I don't think they're really going to be that bad that they're competing for the number 1 overall pick. But imagine you bring Caleb Williams into that offense, re-sign Justin Jefferson. I mean, I think that's the best possible situation.
I think the best possible situation for Justin Jefferson is getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I agree.
No, if you look at the Vikings' history, nothing good. It's like being an Atlanta Falcon or a San Diego or a LA Charger now. There's nothing good that can come out of it. It doesn't matter how good your team is. You are destined to lose. That is what this world has chosen for that team forever.
Well, I mean,
I promise you. The second the Vikings drafted Justin Jefferson went into a closet and started crying. His quarterback is Kirk Cousins, the most inconsistent, successful quarterback to ever exist in the NFL.
I mean, look, he could choose to go down the path of the other great Vikings receivers. Randy Moss got upset and left. Stephon Diggs gets upset and leaves. But I think they're going to come to it because I think he's waiting to see. Where do we finish in the draft? What's the Kirk Cousins situation? If they choose to trade Kirk, if Kirk is willing to waive his no-trade clause, they can get some extra draft capital. Then they're really going to be in the tank. Justin Jefferson can choose to, rest a couple extra weeks and not come out. They can get that contract done and move forward with Drake May, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and see where he goes from there. I mean, there's no reason to assume that this is going to be some 7-year deal, monster contract that eats up his entire prime. He could choose to sign a 3 to 4 year deal. He'll be out in the end of his prime. He'll sign another contract elsewhere if he so desires. Like, it's not like it's a career ender for him. It's not like he's 28. This is going to be his last big deal. He needs to see if he wants to sign that in Minnesota. If they can bring in one of these young hotshot quarterbacks, they've got an offensive-minded coach. They have 2 great tackles. They can build up the rest of that offensive line. Add a couple extra pieces on defense. They should have at least a little bit of cap space. I mean, I'd have to go into like one of those cap tracker things to really see what this offseason could potentially look like for him. But I think, coming in, he'll have Caleb. If, they end up with number 1 overall, 2 great wide receivers there, and him and Addison. Addison's look promising. I don't see what's not to like about staying in Minnesota.
You're in Minnesota.
Outside of the, geographic area.
All right. I think that's enough Vikings talk. Is the Saints. The Saints are another team to me. I have no idea what the fuck they are. They shut out the Patriots, then they look like crap. They look good, they look bad. They look good, they look bad. What the hell is this team? This team is Derek Carr's career, and it makes sense now that they have Derek Carr. They are literally just Derek Carr. It's the New Orleans Derek Carr.
I think this team is just bad. This team is just bad out front, I think.
I would argue you could say this about anyone in the NFC South. You can't judge any of them because they're all the same, Like, all of them are just
NFC South is one of the
bad.
No, they're not all the same. Baker Mayfield got a boner during a game, all right? And he admitted that.
Okay, that's the first I'm hearing of that, and that's
it's true. It's true.
I would say that's a lot to take in, but I'm not certain.
Jess, I understand you might think Baker Mayfield's boner is a lot to take in.
I'm saying I don't know.
He walked right into that.
Can we just continue to talk, please?
Texans. What are we?
I tried to make a smart joke. You just
Texans
outright,
just missed.
Put it out there, But all right. I mean,
honestly,
Saints, they're mid. They're bad. They're bad. I mean, maybe you could put them in pain because I think a lot of people, just assumed they were going to win the division because, the Bucs are starting Baker Mayfield. Atlanta's probably a year or two away, and people just expected Carolina to be bad. So maybe we could put them in pain because I feel like we're going to be putting the other NFC South teams in just bad. Because none of them have looked truly trash outside of Carolina, but we have a special tier for them.
I don't think the Texans are pain. I think D'Amico Ryans is coming in with the roster
the playoffs, I think.
NFC.
I think Jess was talking about the Saints still.
I was still talking about the Saints.
I thought I heard AFC South. My bad.
No, I said the Saints, maybe we could put them in pain because I feel like a lot of people were saying that they were going to just win the division.
That is true. There was expectation that in that bad division.
I mean, here's the thing. We could put them in division because I still think they might have the best shot, them or Atlanta, because I just feel like those are the two teams with the most theoretical promise. They're all just so mid. The Bucs theoretically could win the division. Baker's looked better than we thought. But okay, you know what? Saints pain. Let's move on.
The entirety of the NFC South, other than the Panther, just throw them in bad and see what happens.
I'm down for that.
Bad? Just throw them in bad?
Just throw them in bad. I mean, we talked about Atlanta earlier.
I think
one's got to win the division. One's got to win the division.
Do you guys think the Texans have a shot of getting a wild card?
No, honestly, I do.
I think they just miss. They just miss.
Let me see what their schedule looks like. You guys go ahead.
I don't think they've got a shot.
I think they just
they're still a bit young and inexperienced. They're gonna drop games. I think CJ Stroud will cool off a bit down the stretch. But
okay. Their schedule is favorable. This is what they have. They have the Panthers next. Then they have the Bucs in Houston. They have the Bengals in Cincy. That might be hard. Then you got the Cardinals coming into Houston. Then you got the Jags coming into Houston. It's a division game. And the Jags have lost to the Texans before. You have the Broncos coming into Houston. Then you got the Texans against the Jets, who the fuck knows what the Jets will be at that point. They still got 2 games left against the Titans. They have a game against the Colts, and they have a game against the Browns. I think they can beat the Panthers, Bucs, Cardinals, Broncos, maybe the Titans twice, and maybe against the Jags and Colts. If they win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that would be 7 wins there. That's 7 wins on top of
they have a potential shot to go 10-7?
Yeah. at least, and that's not even including if
Not far stretch.
Burrow still is hurt or if they beat the Jet. Like, I think they could be a wild card team because of how soft their schedule is.
I'm with you. I'm with you
I think
on
that
that.
the Texans are ahead of schedule in terms of their rebuild for sure. I just don't see them as a playoff team yet. You know, we're gonna have to give them another year.
I'm not
Just
saying they're a
missed.
playoff team. I'm
I'm not saying they're like going. I think they end up as a 7th seed and get fucking destroyed in the playoffs. I just think they end up there because of their schedule.
I still think I'm going to put them in just
I would
miss.
say just
All
miss
right.
because you still got to remember there's other teams in the AFC that are competitive. So just
That's fair.
miss.
There are better teams in the AFC, yeah, that's for sure.
D'Amico Ryans fucking deserved a head coaching job long ago. That is what I've learned.
Clearly.
Well,
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
he got it. He got it regardless. That's all that matters.
These next two teams, I think, are pretty much the same team. And that is the Commanders and the Falcons. But I don't think they deserve the same tier.
Blue
Because the
Factory.
Falcons, if there is a pain tier, I mean,
The
except
Falcons
the
are on the pain.
Falcons always have to go in the pain. Because that's all Falcons fans will ever be is pain.
Cincinnati as well. They have to be in pain.
No, I
What
think
they're going
Cincinnati
through.
figures it out and gets into
It
the
makes
division.
I think they're
You
wild
can't.
card.
You can't say that because just think about how have they been playing. Burrow has had one good game this whole season, and besides that, he's been playing like ass. Their defense is being trampled on. I mean, did you watch the most boring game I've ever watched was the Cincinnati Bengals and the Rams game? Nothing is figured out on that team. So the only
Oh
thing
shit,
Yeah,
their
but see,
schedule
what
is
I'm saying is
brutal.
despite
their
that
schedule is
though,
brutal.
the Bengals are still at 500 right now, aren't they? They're 3-3.
they're at 500, but they shouldn't be at 500.
Yeah, they're 3-3. I think.
Right. So
Well,
they
They
went
here's
through
the
a
shouldn't.
bad
thing.
stretch and they came through at 500, right?
Well,
That
yeah,
means
but here
Their
Ali,
next two games are against the Niners and the Bills.
their next game is at
Well,
San
they beat the
Fran.
Bills very
They're
easily.
home
They
to
beat
the
the Bills
Bills.
easily. They probably would have beaten them the
Yeah, but
second time.
you think
If
that
Hamlin didn't get
without
hurt.
injured Joe Burrow, you really think they're going to beat
What-
the
yeah.
Bills?
So no, here's the thing. I 100% agree with going there.
well,
What
people are
version
saying
of
Joe
Joe
Burrow
Burrow
is
are we
starting to
getting
move
here?
better.
What kind of Joe Burrow? I mean, I'm gonna need to see how he does after the bye. Get an extra week of rest. You know, he's
That's true.
started looking a bit better. I mean, he had that great game against Arizona. Then he was not very good this past week against Seattle. But Seattle is getting healthier, and they still were able to win. You know, Seattle matched up well against them. But not only that, they still have another game at Kansas City later in the year. They're at Baltimore. They are at Jacksonville. You know, and they still got another game against the Browns, who, regardless of whether or not Burrow's been healthy, he just can't beat the Browns for some reason. I think because of how rough their start was, it's not that they aren't going to be theoretically good enough to make the playoffs, but I think they dug themselves a bit of a hole that with how competitive the AFC is, they're probably not going to be able to get out of.
I think we're overblowing the competitiveness of the AFC. The
Let me
Bills
just say
or the
something.
Dolphins, one of them is going to be wild card. Okay, that's a wild card spot. Jets, big question mark. Raiders, giant question mark. Chargers, 2-3, giant question mark. Steelers, Browns, fucking giant question marks there as well because PJ Walker and Kenny Pickett and Matt Canada and whatnot. So you have no idea. And then you have the Colts and Texans also at 3-3. Besides the Tex, that's why I think both the Texans and Bengals could easily be wild card teams. Like, besides the Chargers and maybe the Jets, I don't know who else in there convinces me that they're going to the playoffs.
Well, I mean, so theoretically, that Bengals-Texans game in 3 weeks could
be for the playoff spot, yeah.
could be the playoff spot then. But I'm not confident enough in either of these teams right now to definitively say. Like, I mean, if there's one thing we know about the Steelers is that they're gonna get to at least 9-8. Somehow, some way, they're going to. TJ Watt will drag them there with Mike Tomlin. So it's not like the Bengals are guaranteed to win either of those games. For as bad as that offense is, the defense seems to be just as good there for the Steelers. Ali, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, historically, the Steelers and Bengals, I think, have split like 3 years in a row or something like that. Like, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Right.
So I think they're going to be just miss.
All right, let's do this. Let's put them in just miss, and then we'll probably have to move some AFC teams up just at this rate. I already guess. So once we get to the end of the list, if we have to move some teams up, we will. We can get into that.
Yeah, I'm just saying though, if the Bengals are a just miss team, that's pain for their fan base, right? So
for sure.
Here?
Mm-hmm. I think we need to leave them in just miss right now until we debate what final teams are making it. And if they make it into wild card, they go into wild card. If they don't, they go into pain.
Got it.
I think that's fair.
I think for the Seahawks, we could all agree that they're a wild card team.
Yeah.
Wild card team.
And San Fran division. I don't think we really have to touch on either of those that long.
I think you could go San Fran.
San Fran Super Bowl.
As a Super Bowl team, I get we're Eagles fans and everything, but
I forgot we even had the Super Bowl tier. I was thinking division versus wild card.
I'm just saying the Seahawks are one good pass rusher away from actually being division/Super Bowl. I really do.
I could agree with that.
Yeah. Seahawks they've been one of those teams that nobody's really talking about this season. I think it's partially because Geno Smith doesn't look like the Geno Smith of last year. It's not that he's been bad. It's just it's not everybody going, oh my God, Geno Smith's good.
It's not as explosive.
It's not as explosive, and it's not as shocking now. So I think that hype with Geno's kind of worn off. So I think everybody's just kind of stopped talking about them. But I think they're still a decent team. And I think
that secondary is one of the best secondaries. That's Legion of Boom-esque right there.
For sure. And I think we talked about the 49ers enough early on when we were talking about Brock Purdy. That team's fucking good. We all know they're good. It's going to come down to injuries on if they get there or not. And that's
if they're healthy, I think they're the best team in the NFC. But
I think they're the best team.
It's a legitimate concern if they can stay healthy.
Yeah. The fucking Cleveland Browns. Arguably the best defense in football right now.
Just miss because they can't figure anything out on offense.
Yeah,
they need to figure out.
There's no way the Brownies are getting in the playoffs.
Spoken like a true Steelers fan there.
Defense would have to will their way there. Yeah,
I think they're just miss.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the defense, or if PJ Walker can find some next level to his game. But I don't think we're seeing XFL PJ Walker in the NFL.
I think Deshaun Watson did return to Deshaun Watson did return to practice, so there is that.
Well, watching the Browns versus the Steelers head to head, you watching this game, you're like, these are the same teams. Both teams are just equally identical. So I would put both the Browns and the Steelers into just.
I would say that the Browns defense is way better than. I'm just saying.
I'd say the Browns defense is the best unit in football right now.
Well, yeah, but the Steelers defense is a lot more opportunistic, defensive touchdowns.
They create more opportunities,
turnovers, sacks.
You got TJ Watt. That's what you got on defense.
Alex Highsmith is also top 5 in quarterback pressures.
I think right now the Browns could make the playoffs off the back of this defense if it can, keep up the pace it's been. But being that the pace it's been at is the best defense, arguably, in the last 40 years, it's really tough to say they're going to keep up that pace. And especially since they can't rely on Nick Chubb, hopefully those reports that it wasn't as bad as it actually looked are true, and he'll be able to return to form, and we'll be able to see him back again, fingers crossed. But the truth is they are without him. And even when Deshaun Watson plays, it's not like he's looked like, 2017, 2017 to 2020 Deshaun Watson or anything. He hasn't been his Houston self since he got there.
I think he looks way better than Kenny Pickett.
That's a whole nother discussion.
I'm just saying, for Ali's argument about the Steelers versus the Browns, I
wouldn't say that Deshaun Watson has looked that much better than Kenny Pickett. Both of them have looked pretty bad.
Weren't the
both of
Steelers
them
like
look like nothing
struggling
compared
to get
PJ
more than like
Walker.
2 yards of offense in their first game of the season? Just saying.
Yeah,
Well, they're
we got
facing
there. We
San
got the
Francisco
2 yards.
49ers. What do you expect?
The Browns faced the 49ers and they won with PJ Walker.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
a good point
trap.
also.
Yeah, but also the Browns have one of the best offensive lines. That certainly helps.
I'm just
You know,
saying
the
for that
Steelers-
Steelers-Browns argument.
Steelers have
Anyway.
some things they need to fix up, but the Browns, I think it's safe to say they're in that just miss category.
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
Cardinals?
You want to say? I'll say bad. They're bad.
I was thinking
Yeah,
of
They're
trash.
bad.
I wouldn't.
I
say
don't think they
trash 'cause
deserve
they've looked
trash because I
I
think
don't
they've
think they
been more competitive than everybody. People were before the season started. We're going. They're going to go 0-17,
Yeah.
and
The
they've
thing
looked
is,
better than that.
They've been in every game. Like they haven't been beaten badly by any. They've been in every game. They've been
I
in it.
genuinely think some of their losses has come from the GM stepping into the locker room at halftime and screaming at them, "You're gonna fuck up my job." Like
Yeah.
genuinely.
Maybe Rich Gannon
So,
just turned out to be a half decent coach.
No, he's a horrible defensive coordinator. Horrible coach. Horrible defensive coordinator.
Right. I mean,
He lost
he's
the
got this
Super
team
Bowl.
playing
He
hard.
lost
The
the
guy
Super
who's got
Bowl
now
every
isn't
year.
any better.
I say
Huh?
bad. I say we
Yeah.
keep them in bad.
Yeah, we
I
call
think
them bad,
bad.
yeah.
I think they were expected to be bad, but they're better than they were expected to
Bad.
be. They are not.
LA Rams are a wild card.
I think they're just missed for me.
LA
just
Rams are
missed,
probably a wild card team, I would say.
They're just missed. They're just.
I
missed.
think because of the NFC, I
That's
think
true.
they're
'Cause,
gonna.
yeah, you don't know. You don't know.
I
I
think they're
think they're
gonna be
gonna-
just miss, but I think that last spot, what's it gonna be? It's gonna have to come down to what, the Rams versus the Packers for number 7,
Maybe.
because
I mean,
somebody
it's
has to
between-
win the South. I don't think a second South team's making the playoffs. The
No.
Cowboys or Eagles are going to be wild card, while the others are going to be division. Seahawks are going to be wild card, so that leaves one spot, and all that's left is the Rams and the Packers at that point.
I mean, I know we clowned them a little bit, but Washington could be competing for that 7th
I
spot.
was thinking that same thing. Yeah.
But right now, just because I trust Matthew Stafford more than I do Sam Howell, and they got Cooper Kupp back, who looks like he hasn't, been slowed down at all. But, at the end of the day, this Rams team, we all knew going into it, they're going to be carried on the backs of Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald.
and apparently
So,
Puka.
And now Puka. But I think I'll have them right now. I think I'll put them in. I would put them in wild.
I put them in wild card. Do you think we should bump the Commanders up to just miss?
Nah. I think they're
still-
fine
they're
where
still
they are.
bad, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because with how the NFC is, my opinion about Washington is still that they're bad, but
they could
because
just
of
miss,
the
yeah.
NFC, they're gonna just miss.
Okay, so let's leave just miss for teams that were good but missed because there weren't enough spots, or decent but there weren't enough spots, and the Commanders can just miss but are bad. So they go.
Yeah.
All right. The Lions division. That's not nobody in that division.
No questions asked.
The fucking Jared Goff MVP season. Come on, let it happen. I will say this much: if the Eagles cannot win it this year, and they are to go out, I want Baker Mayfield versus Jared Goff in the fucking NFC Championship, just because I want it to be fucking Bortles, Keenum, Foles again. I want something like that. Give me fucking Baker, Goff, Mahomes, and fucking I don't even know who in the fucking Pickett.
CJ Stroud, probably.
Give me fucking Pickett.
Oh,
That
God.
would be
Oh, God.
Here's
that would be the funniest shit, man.
That would be the
I've
ugliest
heard
Super Bowl ever.
I've heard some analysts talking about this, and I want to get your guys' thoughts. Could we put the Lions in Super Bowl because
No.
there is a very real shot they
No.
end up the number 1 seed? And
They are the only
that-
team to beat another 5-1 team.
The only reason I say that is because
they are at Baltimore this week. They're at Baltimore. That will be a tough game. But if they can win that, they then get to host the Raiders, at the Chargers, host the Bears, host the Packers, who they already beat in Green Bay. They get to go to the Saints, which could be a challenge, but the Saints haven't looked that great. Then they then they go to Chicago.
I just think
they host the Broncos. They get the Vikings twice, and there's no telling what Justin Jefferson's situation is going to be there. And then they have one other test where they're at Dallas. So
my big thing with them
14-3 or something like that.
Playoffs. I think Dan Campbell, once you get into the playoffs, I think there's going to be a coach that outcoaches him come playoff time.
I don't disagree with that.
The championship,
There's going to be experience. I think there's going to be something.
I think this is going to be great for the Lions. I think they're going to have a fantastic season, but I don't think they're in Super Bowl just yet.
Fair enough.
The championship round. Think about this. Either they're playing the Niners or the Eagles. Or what would another option be besides the Niners or Eagles? Who else would there be?
Dallas. They could get in the divisional. I mean, those are the only
one of those,
that I feel like are talented enough to really make it.
The Lions aren't going to beat them.
I mean, if they play the Seahawks already beat them. So,
yeah, but if they meet in the playoffs, chances are this time it would. Well, I mean, it was at Detroit this year, but I mean, even then, that still took overtime to beat them. It's not like Seattle.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's a guaranteed loss to them. I'm just saying there's too many question marks there still for me to say definitely.
No, I can live with them being in division. It just feels like, they should get the respect of being a contender. But, I think we'd all agree that, we're going to be getting to them soon. But there's really two teams that stand above everyone else right now in the NFC.
All right. So
and
now
to
it's
me, when I
time.
look at the Lions,
Buccaneers.
It is time for the team.
To me, when I look at the Lions,
quarterback.
I just see it. I got to see it. You got to see it to be a contender. So that's how I look at the Lions.
It is time for the team whose
Haven't
quarterback
proved it
said,
yet.
quote, "My dick
agree
got
with that,
hard
Shreyas.
as soon as I saw him running in the motion back there."
Got me out of this. Got me out of that. I ain't gonna talk
That
about
was
it.
his quote.
Division.
And
I'll
for
put a
that,
wild card.
I had to put Baker and the Bucks in division. I mean, you can't not respect a man for
Someone's
being
got to win that
honest.
division. That's how I look at it.
That man was honest. He came out here with a straight Ali quote.
Damn it.
You
think
know
that's something we do not
you know
mention
that is
publicly.
exactly something Ali would say.
I think this is something we do not talk about publicly. I'll put it that way.
There's a reason why you're quiet, right? There's a reason you're quiet right now. 'Cause
Yeah,
you
but
know
he's got
it's
that
true.
guilty smile. Point is, Baker Mayfield and the Bucks, are they doing anything in the playoffs? Fuck no. Are they going to get there, though? Only because they have the fucking depressed Panthers, Falcons, and Saints in their division, yes.
It's Baker Mayfield throwing it to Mike Evans in that division.
Yeah.
So that's all you need to know.
I guess
Philadelphia
we're
Eagles.
picking someone here that has to win the division. Why not the Bucks, and why not the guy with the best quote of the season so far? But it feels weird saying that. The Bucks.
I will say it right now on this podcast. If they make the playoffs, I will buy a Baker Mayfield shirt with that quote on it, and I will wear it on the show.
I don't know if you'll be allowed to put that on there, though.
I know
you won't
we
see the
have a
quote.
category. I know we have a category
Okay.
strictly for the horse teams and the Panthers, but I feel like if we're gonna actually be analytical here, we need a category just for NFC South, because they're outside of the Panthers. Those three teams are pretty much all exactly the same. As we said earlier, they're all mid. They're all like, you don't know what you're getting week to week. But I guess based off of this quote, we're gonna say that the Bucks win the division here.
All right. So the Eagles, obviously,
Super
they
Bowl.
have not looked
Super
like
Bowl.
the same Eagles team of last year. Although,
Super
if
Bowl.
you look
They're
at
not
their
the same team.
offensive stats, they're pretty much the exact same offense from last year, stats-wise, which is interesting. But they definitely have not played a full 60.
Defensively, I'm a little
But think
worried
about
about.
it.
Defensively,
Think
they
about it
don't
like
look
this.
like.
Defensively, they're not getting the turnovers they got last season, but their defense
They're not getting the sacks they got
against
last
the
season.
Jets last week.
But
And their
think about it.
secondary has been hurt.
Backs they got.
Offensively, the Eagles just put Julio Jones on the practice squad so he can learn the offense. Once he learns the offense, he takes that number 2 role right next to A.J. Brown. They move Devontae Smith down to the slot. Jalen Hurts at quarterback.
Either 3 for
They
washed
have
A.J.
to.
Brown.
They have to. They
A.J. Brown,
can't.
Julio Jones.
They can't put Julio Jones at 3. Julio Jones wasn't made to be a 3.
Julio Jones should have been out of the
They're
league.
not
like 3
going to
years ago.
prioritize washed Julio over Devontae.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
you
gonna
guys
have
are talking like
Devontae
Julio's like gonna like
requesting
turn back the
trade
clock
in
magically
the
and like be like
offseason
what he
if
was in
you do
Atlanta.
that.
That's not happening.
I'm just saying. Those 3 guys will be out in the field at the same time. Washed up or not, those 3 guys will be on the field at the same time.
That's
You know
fine,
that Julio,
but you're not putting Julio over Devontae.
in my
How long
opinion,
before? I
they
mean,
should, but
Julio's not what he was in Atlanta. All of his problems have been injuries, so can't really
Well, you can
guarantee
play
that.
Julio Jones wide, right?
I
Because
mean,
Julio Jones can't play slot, but you can play him wide. But then you can play draw plays for Devontae out of the slot for him. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. Okay.
the-
Eagles. Though.
offensively, we're set.
Are we
We're
still
Super
The
committed
Eagles
to
are on the
Super
Super Bowl
Bowl?
tier.
They're
That's
not the
that's
same
no question.
team from last
They
year,
are, they
but
are.
they're still Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
If for again, like we were talking about with Detroit, if for no other reason, there's really not that many teams in the NFC we could see like really being that competitive.
Right.
Like I still think they're a tier above a team like Seattle or the Rams that we currently have in the wild card. And I think the Lions could give them a fight, but I think most people would still favor the Eagles, even if it's like at Detroit in the playoffs.
For sure.
But
Well, all it takes is one bad game, from Jalen Hurts, because we've already seen him have a whole bunch of turnovers in a single game. In the playoffs, that's not going to fly. You're never going to win a playoff game losing the turnover battle. I'll just
No
say
shit,
that.
but Jalen Hurts also.
Well, he made one turnover, and that was
Every
cost him one of the
quarterback
Super
has
Bowls.
bad games throughout their career. You cannot pull one quarterback who has bad games in his career. Jalen Hurts, over the last 2 seasons, though, his numbers are insane. Like, he's, what is it now, in his last 25 games, like in the regular season, like 23-2 or some shit? He had a bad game. It is what it is. It sucks, but every quarterback has bad games in the NFL. I don't think there's too much to read into it after one game.
Yeah.
If it becomes a trend, yes, but it's one game.
Next up, the Jets. We put them in trash. No questions.
No,
asked.
straight up.
They gotta be.
I say trash because of
quarterback,
Zach Wilson.
Their savior
Zach
gets
Wilson.
hurt 4 plays in. They can't be anything except pain. Aaron Rodgers'
yeah.
season
Good point.
highlights are of him
Good point.
carrying a fucking flag onto the
That's
field.
a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point.
But also, I mean,
It's okay,
their
Jets are
defense is good
paying.
enough
Jets
that
are
it's
paying.
kept them relatively competitive. It's not like
That's
we're
what
gonna
I'm
be
saying.
getting
That's
to
what
a
I'm saying.
team we're gonna have
Wildcard
a lot
team.
to say about in a couple seconds here.
The Jets have just missed / wild card potential. I could see them sneaking in, but
That's true.
if they
On
don't,
the back
it's pain.
of that defense, yeah, there's a real shot for that.
I think the Jets are exactly like the Bengals we were talking about earlier. If we come to the conclusion that they'll make the playoffs, then they're not paying. If we say they're going to miss the playoffs, they're paying.
That's fair. I do also think if they just miss the playoffs, that's extra pain because a lot of the fans were saying, well, if Aaron Rodgers goes down, at least we can be bad enough to bring in another top talent to help him next year. And if they just miss the playoffs and they get a mid-round pick now, all the fans who wanted something decent now are going to have to settle for something that might work out for a pick.
The Jets have a first-round pick this. The Jets have first-round pick this year.
No, they do because Aaron Rodgers didn't play at least. I think it was like
70%.
Yeah,
60%
and so
of
that
the
was the
snap
hope
during the
fans
other
had was
season.
now that they get their pick back, they were hoping they'd be bad enough so they could get something else to help Rodgers next year. But now,
Packers really got screwed on that one.
yeah,
Yeah. Bills.
Bills.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them,
I go
it looks
division.
like wild card.
Well,
I'll go
The
division.
Lions already winning the division.
Dolphins are winning that
Division.
division.
That's true.
but here's the thing, though. The Bills are this team that we've already seen what they can do against Miami. Was that game in Miami.
It was.
No, it was
Buffalo,
I thought it was in New
Buffalo.
York.
Oh, it was
That
in
game was in
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
All right, so but
Well, my
but
whole problem
point-
with the Bills,
the
my whole problem
Bills-
with the Bills is
the Bills are theoretically a punt return away from having the exact same record with a win over Miami, the same record as Miami with a win over Miami. Like, what version of Josh Allen are we getting here? Because there are games where, like, yes, Mahomes is Mahomes, but there are times Allen genuinely can look better than Mahomes because of his physical traits. And then there are times where you're like, oh my God, has this guy improved at all since, his second year? Like, the Bills are good enough that I think we could put them in the Super Bowl tier, but they can also then be bad enough that, yeah, they're going to lose in the wild card.
This is my thought right now. I think they're a wild card team, and this is because 2 weeks in a row they have not looked good, and they just keep losing guys to injury.
That's what I was going to say. Their entire defense is depleted. They lost Tre'Davious White and Matt Milano.
Matt-
Both
I
of
don't
them
think they're
all
going to
pro
be able to
caliber.
keep up with the Dolphins, so I think it leaves them as a.
Yeah,
unfortunately, if they can't, then they can't win the division, so they end up as a wild card team.
Yeah, that's my problem with the Bills. It's just like what version of Josh Allen we're gonna get? Are we gonna get a guy that's like gonna turn the ball over like 5 times a game, or are you gonna get a guy that that's just said you can argue looks like the best quarterback in football, probably better than Mahomes because of in addition to the physical traits like the size, the overall athletic ability. That's what we're asking. That's the question we're asking rather than is Buffalo a Super Bowl? Can Allen remain consistent?
Can the
Now,
defense
guys.
get any bit of health to it?
Guys, the next team, I honestly think Jess should be the one to pick the tier because
right.
he's
So,
been going through a
Jess,
lot of
if you
pain
want
these
the
past
Press
2
Panther
years.
for this team, that's fine.
No. The Giants belong in trash, but I'm going to say this. This offensive line is genuinely the worst I have ever seen. And we just had to add another offensive lineman to IR today with Shane Lemieux, who is already terrible, but had to be, like, on any other team, he's on the practice squad. We had him as our backup. Like, this team needs depth, and we just don't have it. Daniel Jones, I was optimistic about coming off of last season because I thought, all right, we've got a great head coach. He's in a system that'll be going into a second year. We added Jalen Hyatt, Darren Waller. We've got all these pieces. Will the offensive line improve? I expected it to, and it just got worse. There's plenty of things Daniel Jones needs to do to prove to be an adequate quarterback in this league. He's got issues reading defenses, making quick decisions, adjusting at the line of scrimmage, a lot of these mental things. But this offensive line is just so heinously terrible that in the game against Miami, we had a guy, according to PFF, grade out at a 0, just straight 0 in pass block, and he was not even the first or second worst overall grade on that offensive line. Like, it was terrible. I'm also not sure if this is true, but until the Giants played Buffalo, no team had ever lost in the yardage battle, the turnover battle, and a couple other stats that I can't even remember, and still won until the Bills did so against the Giants. Like, it's just been that bad of a year. But I'm optimistic that, we will suck just enough to think we have a shot at the first overall pick. And in the last couple of weeks of the season there, we're somehow going to get 1 or 2 wins that we don't need. And then we're going to be picking at 8, and all of the top guys at positions that we need are then going to be taken ahead of us. So we're going to be stuck, with whatever.
Now, the real question. You drafted a QB?
If we finish in the top 3 and we have a shot at Caleb or Drake May, I say go for it. But I don't think going into like the Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, Quinn Ewers, Bo Nix,
Daniel
God
Jones
forbid,
is a Minnesota Viking.
Riley Leonard tier. I don't think those guys are worth it. Even because if we have a chance to draft it, it's not going to happen. But let's say we're at pick 3, but the top 2 picks go to Chicago at 1, who takes Caleb Williams, and then let's say Denver has pick 2 and they take Drake May, and we have a shot at Marvin Harrison Jr. I say we go Marvin Harrison Jr. Or if we're at pick 5 or 4 or 5, and the top picks go somewhat of Caleb, Drake May, Marvin Harrison, Brock Bowers, something like that, and then we can take Olu Fashanu or Joe Alt, the top 2 tackles. I say we go tackle. I'm only saying go quarterback if we can take Caleb or Drake May, because at the end of the day, I don't think Daniel Jones is the worst. I don't think he's the problem. The issue is he isn't the solution. Like we saw with Tyrod Taylor did not do significantly better than Daniel Jones has done this year. But what he was able to do was manipulate the pocket and make faster decisions. He threw with a bit more anticipation. If Daniel Jones can do that, then the main issue is, all right, we need a pass rusher out next to Kayvon, and we need to fix up this offensive line and maybe get, one more receiver that, can really stand out.
Right.
And then we should be a consistent level playoff team. Whether or not Daniel Jones is the guy that'll get us over the hump and win the Super Bowl, that's a whole other thing. And so far, he has been very much far from proving that, but he's not the primary issue. I don't think.
Jess?
Yeah, sorry. I could talk about this.
You're fine. But we're starting to
talk
talk about Daniel Jones taking the Giants to the Super Bowl in the future. I think we're a little far from where we
I
started.
said I don't think he's that.
We have 6 teams left, so.
All right.
I could do a whole podcast about my issues. Let's move on here.
The Chargers. Okay.
Pain.
The Chargers and the Cowboys going into this game, I thought were very similar teams, not record-wise, but from skill level. And this game kind of made that point in my brain. I think the Chargers literally are the Vikings of last year, just without the luck of last year. They have lost so many one-score games, and it's just been very unfortunate. I think they're way better than their record shows, and I think it will even out come the end of the season.
I disagree.
Really?
Well, my problem
I don't
with the Chargers,
think they're any better than their record. I think the
Chargers
Chargers are a mediocre team, and their record indicates they're a mediocre team. I don't think that they're all that. I don't think. I mean, yeah, maybe from an individual skill player wise, you might say, oh, they have Keenan Allen and Herbert, but at the end of the day, Herbert isn't playing like an elite quarterback. He had 2 wide open misses just the other night. If he hits those passes, the Chargers win. There's not a doubt in my mind. Defensively, that defense is very bad. J.C. Jackson turned out to be a mega bust as a free agent cornerback, which, I mean, if you're going to get a cornerback from free agency, you don't get him from New England.
I do find it kind of funny that the AFC, the 3 teams in that division were all like, oh, look out, KC. We are all making these signings. They're going to be great. And that was last year. They all were like celebrating their offseason. And then fucking all 3 guys have ended up off their teams for different reasons.
To add off of that, how I look at the Chargers is I look at them they're like, well, what you call the paper champions. Like fans will see the team and okay, we expect this team to run the league, to destroy everybody in their path. Yet you get underachieving results. I mean,
that's back-to-back seasons, right?
When you look at it, many other teams, if you look at last year's Chargers team, that's considered a successful season. But I'm saying that's considered a successful season because you made the playoffs that year. Granted, yeah, you fell apart in the playoffs, but it's with the Chargers standards, by the standard of what media has given them, and they think they got probably the best quarterback in the league. That's not the case. You got arguably one of the best offenses in the league. Not the case this year. A great deal. You got guys like Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, and obviously, you were mentioning J.C. Jackson. that's not the case. No, Derwin James, I think, can barely has had trouble staying on the field. Same with I think Bosa. It's just overall, it's like you expect the Chargers to be like this S tier team, but you get like the B, C tier, maybe D tier if possible, maybe D tier if possible. Like that, you expect so much, but you get very little out of the Chargers, and I feel like that's
I
been the
think they
case
need
for
to.
the
Two
last
things
3
that
years.
So we put him at bad.
I think they have to go with their brothers in pain, being the Vikings and the Falcons.
I mean, two things. I completely agree with what Shreyas says. There's two things I wanted to add on. Was one, that coaching is not very good. Kellen Moore was supposed to be the savior of that offense. The offense hasn't looked very good. We all know Brandon Staley is one of the worst head coaches. I wouldn't say the worst, but one of the below average type coaches in the league. He's a defensive-minded head coach. That's why he brought in Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore hasn't been getting it done. And then the Chargers as a franchise, just they're cursed. I don't know how else to put it. I feel like Justin Herbert might just end up being Phillip Rivers 2.0, where he might put up a lot of good stats, have a borderline Hall of Fame career. I mean, a very good career, but he might not win them a whole lot of playoff games just because it's the Chargers, and it's almost impossible to win with that team.
If you
I'm gonna
remove
be
the
right
Titans
back,
from that
guys.
tier, those 3 teams are the 3 teams that are the most painful teams to be fans of. Like,
I mean,
there's
I think we
nothing
could
good
definitely
for
put
those 3 franchises. Nothing.
the Browns and the Lions as, and the Jets as historically painful franchises.
But at least the Jets have won a Super Bowl at some point in their history.
And how many people alive today saw it?
Nah,
But it's
it
more
recycles
than-
after like 50 years.
It's still more than what the other 3 teams can say. I will say the Lions and Browns probably deserve to be there with them, but at least the Lions are looking to be finally maybe turning it around. And everything that with the Vikings or the Chargers or the Falcons, they somehow fuck it up.
I'm looking at the Chargers schedule. I mean, I think in this group, I'm the resident Herbert guy. I'm the big, I was big on him
there's
coming
two
up.
sides of the Herbert coin. There's the this guy's a bum, he can't play, and the Justin Herbert has been touched by God himself.
I think I fall right in the middle of he's pretty damn good.
Me and Jess are at the complete opposite ends.
Yeah,
of that.
I'm the opposite also.
So
here's a meme of
at-
Justin Herbert. I don't know if you guys can see this or not.
I can't see it, but
I don't know if you
they're
guys can see
at
that.
Kansas City this week. That should drop them to 2-4. After that, they have the Bears. They should win. They should beat the Jets. They host the Lions. I'll give them an L for that one. Then they're at Green Bay. I think they can win that. They host the Ravens. I'll give them the L there. Patriots, they should win. Broncos, they should win. Raiders, they should win. They host Buffalo. I'll give them an L. And then they have the Broncos, and then they host the Chiefs, and the Chiefs might be resting starters for that game. So I could see them getting, being in that just miss tier, which
is
for
pain.
them and their preseason expectations would equate to
we're going to have to debate some shit in here.
Just because I feel like, just adding up what Jess said, I mean, I kind of agree with the win-losses. That's 9 and 8 but if the Chiefs aren't resting, then it would probably be 8 and 9. So, I would say
they still play the Chiefs very well.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs since Herbert has come in, I don't think they've ever blown them out. Pretty much every single game has been a 1-possession game, and the only game that I think has been very lopsided was actually a Chargers win over the Chiefs when the Chiefs were resting their starters. So, I don't think you can just definitively say that it would be, the Chiefs winning, because if the Chargers are desperate and playing for a playoff spot, and, the Chiefs already locked it up, and maybe they don't really have much to play for, even if they play some of their starters, just because they know they're going to have wild card weekend, because there's only the one bye now. I don't know. But I can definitely see the Chargers fighting for a wild card spot if they can just get their act together.
I mean, they could fight for it, but they're not going to get it.
We'll debate which AFC teams are going to go. Let's get through these last 5 here, and then we will debate. Raiders,
Bad.
bad. Yeah.
Green Bay, wild card.
No, bad.
Nah. what
Who
do you
else,
mean?
Ollie? Who else is going for the wild card?
I mean, Green Bay is not a very good team. Jordan Love
Who
isn't
else
very
in
In
good.
their
NFC?
division.
One more team in the NFC's got to go.
That's a good
They're
point.
not. Put them wild card.
Well,
wild
well,
card. Wild card.
All right, so can we just to speed this
Washington, the
along
second
here?
most likely
So put
team.
Washington wild card and put Washington in the
Hold
wild
on.
card.
We'll put that there for now.
Whoa, whoa,
Steelers.
whoa,
Hold on, hold on.
whoa.
Can I just say something right here? To kind of speed this along, we've got the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Cowboys. Cowboys, I think we all agree, wild card.
Okay, yeah.
Cowboys, we'd agree, wild card. Patriots, we can all agree, trash.
Wild card.
You think the Patriots are going to contend for the wild card? Shreyas.
What was that? No.
We're adding a
I said the
Washington.
Patriots are
Trash.
trash, and you said wild card. And I was like, what?
Patriots are going into the
No, I
watching
think- no, I
pass
said-
controls.
No, I was saying about Green Bay or Washington, not Patriots.
And then I think Steelers, we can say bad.
Just miss. They're always going to be 9-8.
That's true.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
All right,
I don't
Cowboys.
think that, I don't
Just
think
missed.
they get to 9-8 this year. I don't think they get it. I don't think they get it.
That's
this
what
year.
we said last year.
No, they're not.
I
this
think
year they
until
definitely are
proven
not gonna get it.
otherwise, we have to just put the Steelers at 9-8.
Okay.
Until proven
So-
otherwise.
Washington versus Green Bay. Let's, Ollie, you start and we'll work our way up. Who's making it?
Yeah,
Washington or Green
between
Bay?
those two,
Hold on. Let me open up my list.
I guess
so
I would
remember
have to
what I
go
have.
Green Bay between those two. I expect the Eagles to beat the Washington one more time. I expect the Cowboys to beat them twice. I just think Green Bay has an easier schedule.
Jess?
They're not a particularly good team though.
I would say, I think, yeah, because Green Bay moving forward, they still have games against the Giants, the Bucks, the Vikings, the Panthers, and the Bears. Like they
All right, I-
legitimately could win the last 5 games.
I agree with the.
Actually,
I
they
agree.
could win. Yeah, they could easily win 6, at least 6, because they host the Vikings this week, or
Oh,
not this
shit,
week.
wait.
They
we're
have
being
the
stupid.
Broncos this week.
We're being stupid, guys. The Dallas is taking the third wild card. So that leaves the Rams or Green Bay.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is-
definitely the
In
Rams.
that case,
So Green
honestly,
Bay-
I
Yeah,
think
Rams.
I'd still go Green Bay.
Oh, no. I'm
Well,
Rams.
just
easy.
hold on, because the Rams still have games against Seattle and San Fran, and I would need to look at their schedule. But
They played
This
San
are-
Fran close. The
do
Rams,
you think the
that
Packers can
division
win the?
always plays each other close. They will steal a game.
Hold on. But do you think the Packers can win? Do you think the Packers can beat the Broncos?
I don't know.
Yes.
Because if you
genuinely
don't think
don't
they
know.
can beat the Broncos, then they're not in just miss.
Yeah.
They would
they're
be in bad.
Yeah, let's put them in bad.
Hold up. I need to see something.
I legitimately think the Packers can beat the Broncos. I think they'll beat the Vikings. Then they host the Rams. I think they can win that game. Then they.
So what you're
at
saying pretty
Pittsburgh-
much.
Yeah, I think the only games I would put as close to, if not definitive L's for the Packers are at Pittsburgh, because I think that defense is just that good, and it's at Pittsburgh. Against the Chargers, I think they'll be out-talented. At Detroit, well, they couldn't even keep it close in Green Bay. Then against the Chiefs, I don't think they have a shot. But other than that, all of their games, I would say, are very winnable. Broncos, Vikings twice. Rams, I think that is winnable. Then they should beat the Giants. They should beat the Bucks. They should beat the Panthers. And they
Okay.
should beat the
I
Bears.
don't know if they beat the Bucks, and
Let me.
really don't
let me-
I
there's
don't
something
have
that
it.
I
In
don't
Green
agree with
Bay,
here.
like that is a home field
I
advantage.
don't put Green Bay in bad. I put Green Bay in just miss because they're second in their division. The clear winners of their division are the Lions. So they're behind the Lions, and like we said, they have a very easy schedule.
That's true. They probably will just miss them.
Not very easy, but
we have to pick
yeah.
2 of these AFC teams to make it in. My money is on the Bengals and the Texans, but that's my thought.
I would say
I'll put the Texans.
I'd say Bengals because they got the experience.
The only reason I don't say the Bengals is because every
Well,
other
you
team
guys
in the
need
division.
you need 2 from each, so there's 2 for AFC.
I'll say
so
Bengals
you
because
need
I
to
just think they got the better quarterback out of everybody.
I'm taking the Bengals.
All right, so that's 3 people saying Bengals. So now we got to decide on the rest of these.
I'm saying Chargers.
I think Texans getting over the chart.
I
will
think
say
it's going to be Chargers.
All right, I don't think it's going to be the Steelers. I don't think it's going to be the Jets. I don't
I
think
go
it's going to be
Pittsburgh, honestly.
That's
Okay,
tough.
so
That's a tough call.
I'll
How
go
are you a
Pittsburgh. I
Ravens
think.
fan?
he's been so abused by the
I
Steelers
mean,
that
I'm
he
not
just has to
biased.
admit
I'm not biased. If there's
It's
someone
not
else,
because the Steelers have beaten the Ravens.
if
5
there's
out of
someone
the
on
6
Pittsburgh,
games.
yeah, that
does
also
anybody
because I
think
think
the
they're going to
Jets
sweep
are-
the
I don't
season
think
series
We
with
think the
Baltimore.
Jets are going to make it.
No.
All right,
No.
Jets go
No.
down into pain then. Because
No, I
while
don't
they
think
might just
Yeah.
miss, it's a painful season. Does anybody think the Browns are actually going to make it?
No.
You see,
No.
here's the thing. I think they could, but I think they just missed.
Could versus yeah. So all right,
But
we'll
here's the
leave them
thing,
at
like
that.
I would say the Bengals could, but out of any of the teams we are discussing, they have far and away the hardest remaining schedule. And Joe Burrow needs to get back to being Joe Burrow, and he needs to do it quickly. And
I think the
don't know if
Texans
I
have the
faith that
easiest
he will.
schedule of everybody remaining here. And I genuinely think the Texans have the best shot. I think they even have a better shot than the Bengals, but everybody.
If we are going purely off of remaining schedule and like what games we think that those teams not just could but should win, it would be the Chargers and the Texans. Now, I think it's realistic to expect the Texans, they're ahead of schedule here, but they can take a step back. And I also think it's perfectly reasonable if you think the Chargers are going to charger and then just miss out. But the Bengals' next game is against San Francisco, and it's at San Francisco. Then they host the Bills. And that means they have to have Joe Burrow being back. They have to have Joe Burrow back to being Joe Burrow.
This is my thing.
Joe Burrow in the win against Seattle, they're getting slaughtered in those games. Even with the injuries to that Bills defense.
All right, are we more confident? Okay, then let's put it this way. Are we more confident that the Texans with their schedule have a better shot than the Bengals with their schedule?
Honestly, maybe.
I don't think so.
I think
That's a tough one.
I think the best shot of making it is the Texans based on schedule. I think the best team though, when healthy, is the Bengals.
Yeah,
So that's why I think it's those two that are going to make it.
Will Joe Burrow? I mean, because let's put this scenario out there. Let's say they lose the next 2 against the Niners and the Bills, and they're at 3-5. Do we then think that Joe Burrow is going to be able to get back, be healthy, and be able to win at Jacksonville, at Baltimore, at Pittsburgh, at Kansas City? And then we just, even when he's been healthy and been the Joe Burrow of old, he can't beat the Browns. That's just a weird thing.
Here we go. This is how we're going to do it. Everybody's going to list them from their 1 through 3, Texans, Bengals, Chargers. Ali, you start. Who's first, second, third, in your opinion? I'm just going to total the points, and that's how we're going to decide which of the 3 make it. Which 2 of the 3 make it.
Bengals, Chargers, Steelers, and then Texans.
Bengals, Chargers. All right, we'll put the Steelers in it. And then Texans and Steelers. Okay. Jess, give me your ranking.
I would go Chargers, Texans, Browns, Bengals, Steelers.
And Steelers. All right. Shreyas.
Bengals, Chargers, Steelers, Texans.
Steelers and then Texans is all right. I'm gonna say I think the Texans just based on the schedule have the best shot, but that's me. Then I'm just gonna say Bengals and then Chargers, and then Steelers and then Browns. If we're even considering the Browns, which I don't think we are at this point. But
Not that it matters, but Texans, Chargers, Bengals.
Texans, Chargers, Bengals. All right. Based on that, then the Chargers had the most points, or the least amount of technically the lowest score for doing golf. Chargers had the best chance of making it, and the Bengals and Texans tied, and those two are playing each other. So this is what it comes down to: where is that game being played? In Houston or in Cincinnati?
In Cincinnati.
So
You want
then
to give that the tiebreaker to the Bengals there?
that head-to-head matchup. Where's everybody? What do you guys think?
If Joe Burrow's looking like
in
himself,
Cincinnati.
Yeah,
it's being played in Cincinnati
I
on
think
November
Cincy's
12th.
takes then.
It's technically about a month away because the Bengals have the bye this week. Then they have 2 games after that.
Actually, wouldn't that mean the AFC is the exact same playoff teams this year?
It might be, yeah.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah, we might get to see Herbert go into Jacksonville
Jacksonville again.
in the
All right.
first round and lose again.
So that is our rankings this week. We're not going to do this kind of tier list every week. We'll more so. I wanted to just kind of get a baseline for where we thought everything was. We'll see. I know we've run for a bit. If you guys want, though, at least quickly go over our picks of the games this week.
All right, yeah,
Not-
no, that's
Doesn't necessarily have to be in detail, but we could all just kind of go down the line and.
I just want to say right quick that everyone's numbers are pulling up on the bottom of the screen, and Jess, his picks are under 500, so that's kind of depressing if you ask me.
Thank you, Ollie.
For some
I
reason, it
needed
says I'm
that
0-0.
reminder.
I'm actually 64-29 on the season, so I have to.
Oh, are you? What app are you using?
Yahoo.
Oh, okay. All right.
So-
I asked
first of all,
what
I would
everybody's
like to
record was. You
point
didn't post it. So
Oh,
64
that's
and
my
20.
fault then. But yeah,
Hold on.
60
Are you guys, because the reason my picks are like this isn't necessarily because I picked like the wrong winner, but I've been doing spread picks. A
Oh,
lot of
I'm not
my
doing
L's
spread.
have come because the teams just haven't covered the
okay. So we need to know your winner. Okay.
Oh,
If you don't have
I
a-
can't. I don't know. That would
All
require.
right. So we can start you at. We'll start you this week. Then we'll put you at this week, and Ollie will fix yours for to represent your Yahoo picks.
all right.
So I'm gonna pull up the Discord because I removed where I basically put my picks in, which means a couple teams have literally nobody picking for them, which is fine. We'll just go down here. Jaguars Saints tonight. I think the general this one was pretty split. It was 3-2. It is being played in New Orleans and it is Thursday night, which can be weird. What do you guys think? What's everybody thinking? Real quick on this one, since it is Thursday night, we'll actually get everybody's thoughts.
Jaguars.
It's tough to say.
I have Saints over Jags.
Yeah. I think
I
I'm leaning Saints. Sorry, Bilal. But I just want to put this out there in case you guys haven't heard. Trevor Lawrence will be a game time decision. They're going to see how he does in warmups. So I don't know if that's going to affect anyone's opinion here.
I was gonna say the same thing, given the
Okay.
given the whole decision, game time decision situation, and just not the Saints' offense hasn't been with the big names that they have, Michael Thomas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. With all that they have and Derek Carr, it hasn't been what everyone's thought it was gonna be. I just have a feeling against the Jags, this is going to be a tough game for them, and it's going to bring out the team that they should be. And that's why I think they're going to get the win, because they have to win this week. If they don't win this week, it's going to be a very long season. They have to win this win. They have to.
I think the Jags are hitting their stride, and if Trevor Lawrence plays, it should be an easy win for them. Now, if he doesn't play, I do think that there's things in the air, but I'm still going to go with the Jags just because the Saints have been way too inconsistent for me, and the Jags are looking like they're starting to piece it together. But obviously, without Trevor Lawrence, I'd understand the concerns.
Being that it's not necessarily certain that Trevor's going to be playing, I'm going to be picking the Saints here.
All right, Raiders and Bears. Now, this is being played in Chicago. Again, this is a 3-2 split, which is I was a little shocked, but I know the Raiders have underperformed this year a bit. And the Bears have had games where they've looked decent, so I get it. Personally, though, I'm thinking the Raiders. I just think the Bears are too inconsistent. I don't trust them to finish out games. I don't trust them. Not that I trust the Raiders either. It's the lesser of two evils. And
I think that's a pretty good way of putting it. The lesser of two evils. No, actually, I don't know because Jimmy Garoppolo, he's done. I think he might be done for the year.
He is.
So they don't even have him. He's done for the year, Ali?
I think so, yeah.
But if any team was going to make a backup quarterback look good, besides the Broncos,
but
would be the
thing
Bears.
is, though, like with the Bears, if they find the Raiders, they've got.
Yes, you do know you picked the Raiders this week, yes?
I think I'm going to stick with the Raiders, but I would like to put out it is not a confident pick.
All right, well, our two people that computers died or whatever are back, and they were the two that did pick the Bears. So I'd like to hear your perspective on this.
I said screw it.
Fair.
I mean, I get it. They're both ass teams. So what do
Exactly.
you pick up the
McDaniels is trash.
I mean, I picked the Raiders
You're
for
not
the
wrong.
simple
Josh
fact that
McDaniels is
Devontae
worse.
Adams.
He's a
Devontae
bum.
Adams is going to have to carry the Raiders no matter what. And if
Josh
they're
Jacobs, too.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs too.
He hasn't done anything this year.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs has been pretty good the last 3 weeks.
He'll probably go off against the Bears. Watch. All right. Next game is Browns against Colts, and we did have one person pick the Colts. Ali, why the Colts?
I like Minshew. Minshew's my boy.
Listen,
There's no analytics that went into this pick. I just Minshew's my boy, and I don't like the Browns.
fair.
Very,
All
very
right.
deep, insightful
So
commentary
all of
there,
us
Ali.
not obsessing over the mustache.
Defense is too good.
I think we kind of all saw the Browns, how they played the 49ers, and we've all seen what the Colts look like without Richardson, and it's inconsistent at best. And so, while I think Steichen's a good coach, I don't think he's going to be able to beat the Browns defense. I think that's kind of where we're all
I
at.
have the Browns over Minshew because Minshew against a powerhouse defense will do nothing. Will do jack shit against them.
Except when he went
will-
against the Ravens.
When was that?
Don't even
Two
get me
weeks
started
ago.
on that
Eagles?
feeling when I almost broke my TV.
No, it wasn't when he was on the Eagles. When he was on the Eagles,
No,
he
this was
trash.
like 3 weeks ago.
All right. All right, boys.
This is this season, bro.
The next game,
Yeah.
nothing really needs to be said other than fuck the Patriots. Bills are winning that easy.
Yeah.
And if they don't, the Bills need to go into panic mode. Washington at New York. Now, everybody here is picking the Commanders, and that would be the smart pick. However, based on how the Giants played against the Bills, I just have a sneaky suspicion that it's a division game. It's in New York. They're coming off tough like it was a close loss against a good team. I think the Giants get a bounce back win this week. That's just my thoughts, but I fully understand betting against them. Also, the Commanders week in, week out have looked good, bad. So they had a good week last week, so this should be the bad week.
Except the Giants have even more offensive linemen outside of what I mentioned earlier with Shane Lemieux. I don't know if Andrew Thomas isn't coming back this week. Daniel Jones isn't coming back this week. Now, for as bad as he was, he's at least decent in the run game. Evan Neal probably isn't playing this week.
Listen,
it's
Tyrod's got to get his win. He always gets at least a win during the season. He's got to get one here.
maybe this will be it. Maybe not. I'm not confident.
I have Washington over the Giants for the simple fact that Washington's front seven versus the Giants' O-line. That's more than enough for me to say that Washington's going to beat them. I have full confidence
Tyrod's
in the
gonna have to go
Washington
see the
pass rush.
doctor, and they're gonna puncture his lung again.
And then it'll be Danny DeVito. Not Danny DeVito, Tommy
just-
DeVito.
They just fucking
I mean,
tell Eli,
Danny
"Hey,
DeVito
Eli,
might
we need you
have as
back."
good of a shot as Tommy DeVito does. Like with his offensive line.
All right, Falcons at Bucks. This is a division game. This should be close. Two teams that, again, we've said these teams are pretty much all the same in this division. I don't know what else there is to say other than it's going to be close, and we're kind of split on it. I personally have the Bucks, but this is a fucking coin flip of a game.
I mean, it's not. No, I'll tell you why it's not coin flip. Because Falcons refuse to use the weapons that they have. While on the other hand, the Bucks have Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield, Chris Godwin. They have the weapons. They have a quarterback who can decently throw the ball. They have a solid running back, and they have a pretty good defense. So all the cards are in all the cards are in the Buccaneers. What am I?
And it
what's
is
the
in
secret
Tampa.
there?
Yeah, Bucks should win this, but again, division games, when you're all trash, it's
I think with Atlanta, the reason I picked them is because they've got I know I talked earlier about their talent and how it's not utilized properly, but I don't know. I just they've been able to play some teams quite well, and Tampa just doesn't blow me away. So I thought maybe this will be a game where that talent, despite the scheme, just kind of bails people out. Bails Atlanta out. So that's why I went with them.
Ollie.
Baker is better than Ritter. I went with the
Fair
Bucks.
enough. All right, Lions Ravens.
You're a man of many words.
Ollie, I have to know why you picked the Ravens over the Lions here.
Because the Lions are going to lose. It's not like the Lions are going to finish with just one loss on their record. They're going to lose another game eventually. They're probably going to finish with 3 probably-ish losses. That's just how the NFL works. You don't win every game you're expected to win week to week. And at the end of the day, the Ravens are a tough team with a tough defense, with an offense that, if they figure it out, can put up as many points as the Lions can put up. So I took the Ravens at home.
Fair.
I gotta disagree with you. The Lions are on fire right now, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon.
While I don't agree that I don't see them slowing down anytime soon or anything, I do think that Detroit's offensive line is so good and they are clicking right now. I think they're going to ride that momentum. Shreyas, please update me about, the Ravens injury situation. But last I heard, it wasn't exactly looking great. And outside of Andrews and Flowers, my concerns about that, receiving core has been.
No, I mean, Stanley's been back for the past couple. Stanley's been back for the past couple weeks. I think Marcus Williams is going to be missing a couple weeks. Odafe Owe, Ravens' top outside linebacker, which is pretty bad because he sucks ass. He's back practicing. So basically besides J.K. Dobbins, everyone is back or should be back at some point in the season. I think Ojabo,
Which means they're going to have 5 injuries this game.
What about for this week? Are they going to be back for this week? All right. Well, either way,
should be back, but Marcus Williams is not going to be.
Okay. Well, if you're not going to be able to get pressure on Goff, that's where he excels.
This is gonna be a test for both these teams to see where they're at this season.
I think it's going to be a good game, though.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Steelers.
It will be. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
I am surprised by what you guys voted for. I am completely surprised by this.
Yeah, I am too. With how bad the Steelers' offense has looked, I don't know if I can comfortably pick them for. Listen, I understand the Mike Tomlin 9-8 thing, and I know they're going to win games they shouldn't, but I don't think I can ever have the confidence to actually pick them.
Well, how about the Mike Tomlin is 10-4 after a bye week?
Listen, Matt Canada is there. And with Kenny Pickett, I can't. I can't bring myself to do it.
I think the Steelers the one of the biggest weaknesses on the Rams, again, they've got a lot of them. They're being hard carried right now by a couple of players, which is the norm, but like even more so for them. They're very weak on that offensive line. I think TJ Watt's going to have a field day. And I think the Steelers offense is going to be able to do just enough to get the win. I'm expecting this game to be pretty low scoring, kind of like what was it, the Steelers versus Browns or whatever, where it was like a 17-14 game. I'm thinking that's what this is going to be.
Can we all agree every single game in the AFC North is a boring slog to get through?
It's a slugfest, all right?
Those games have been fucking terrible.
I mean, what's that game that the Rams played that was their offense looked so bad? It was a primetime game.
It was Rams versus Bengals.
Right, Rams-Bengals, right? So what's the difference between
game.
Rams-Bengals and Rams-Steelers? Like, just swap them out. They're both like the AFC North teams who's relying on their defense, struggling offense. I think the Steelers can stay in this game, much like how the Bengals stayed in that game.
In that Bengals game, Burrow looked like Burrow again. If Pickett looks like Pickett again, that's not saying much.
If Pickett can...
I mean, Burrow didn't look that particularly good. I mean...
But that was one of his few good games this year.
The thing about, to me, with Pickett is the scheme. Like, you need a new OC. You need to figure that out. And it's not like you got, George Pickens can be a monster. Pickett can be good. And with how that team is built, just a good quarterback, I think, would be more than enough to get you guys into the playoffs. You guys are still a few pieces away, but you should at least be able to be competitive against a team of the Rams' caliber. And I think the defense is good enough that they're going to be able to essentially drag you to a win this week.
That's fair.
All right, Cardinals, Seahawks. Now, this is a division game, and the Cardinals have played everybody close. But what I think is going to happen is this is going to be one where everybody goes, what the fuck? Why are the Seahawks not beating them? What is happening? What is happening? And then the final score is going to show up, and everybody's going to go, oh, okay. And it's going to be Seahawks ended up winning. It's not going to be pretty, and everybody's going to panic. Oh, dear God, are the Seahawks going to lose? But then the result that we all think is going to happen is that. That's my prediction for this game.
Yeah, I don't think the Seahawks are going to lose 2 in a row.
I'm the only one who thinks the Cardinals are going to win. And the only reason I think so is, number one, it's a division game. All right? So that alone, that makes it an important-ass game for them. Number two, the Cardinals have been in a lot of, they've had a lot of close games. Like you said, like Gordon said, the games have been ugly. And most of the time, they don't end up with the win. But I genuinely feel like the Cardinals are going to come out. They're going to beat them because Josh Dobbs, Marquise Brown, the rest of the team the offense has been clicking. It's not been amazing, but it's been clicking. They've been moving the ball downfield, not making a lot of mistakes, and that's what's important. So I
have a question for you guys. Do you think that when Kyler Murray comes back, if they do decide to move on from Dobbs, do you think they trade him to a team like the Falcons, who might still have hope of playoffs, but just need some kind of upgrade?
No.
Depends on their draft position at the time.
Fair. I think Dobbs is going to go to a team that's like middle of the pack, that like their quarterback's hurt or isn't looking good, and they're like, fuck it, let's just try something. I think
Dobbs has developed into a solid QB too. He'll never start for an actual good team,
I don't think he's gonna be like the main starter. I think if it's a team that's like they feel they're a quarterback away from making the playoffs, or like their main quarterback has gotten hurt, that he might be a trade deadline acquisition. Like, he's not going to be their starter the following season, but to finish out this season, they might acquire him.
I'm sorry, I just want to go back to one point. Remember when Joshua Dobbs played against the Cowboys? Everyone thought, including me, that the Cowboys were going to murk the Cardinals, right? Under all that pressure, the Cardinals came out and embarrassed the Cowboys. I genuinely feel like that the same thing is going to happen with the Seahawks. The same exact thing.
Maybe. I don't see
The,
it.
okay, think about it like this. You got Marquise Brown. The guy isn't a crazy wide receiver or anything, but he's Joshua Dobbs' go-to guy. He gets the yard, he gets the job done. Their defense, they're not playing too bad right now. They're not playing too good, but at the same time, what has the Seahawks haven't? They're not playing like they were last year.
Well, they've
It's not
also
the
had a ton of injuries. Like they were down 4 starting offensive linemen or something. They were down like both starting corners, down 2 like defensive, like linemen, edge rusher types. They've been dealing with a ton of injuries this year. And they're just now starting to get healthier. And they had a rough one against the Bengals, but I mean, even with my concerns about the Bengals, the Cardinals, despite that win against the Cowboys, are not as good of a team as the Bengals.
Right.
I'm not putting the Cardinals over the Bengals. I'm just saying it's from.
I don't think you are. I'm just saying, I think
this is a division game, and it's more important it's way more important for the Cardinals to win than the Seahawks to win.
I
It's
disagree.
way more important for them.
Like I
think
said,
it's
I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be close, but I think Seahawks at the end. Next game, which is funny because we all picked the Packers to win, but I don't think it's that obvious. You have the Broncos who have looked like shit, and the Packers who are wildly inconsistent and have lost to some teams that are shit. So, while we all have picked the Packers, who here genuinely feels confident in that pick?
I feel
I do.
100% confident. 100% confident in that pick.
I'm like 85% confident.
I have
100%.
full confidence in
100%
Russell Wilson
confident.
throwing 3 pick sixes.
All right, we'll have to come back to that specific betting line. Or whatever.
All right, who has more picks? Jordan Love or Russell Wilson?
I think Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
I think it's him.
Definitely,
Yeah.
Russell, yeah.
Packers defense is
Well,
pretty
Russell
solid. So.
Wilson, the way he's been playing, just checking it down every play. It's hard to throw interceptions like that, right?
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
You would think.
It's the thing is when he throws the ball, when he stops throwing to the
15
check down, that's when he starts throwing picks.
Right.
Fair.
All right, next game, and I don't know how much you have to cover this, because we kind of talked out a bit when we were talking about the Chargers earlier. Chargers at Chiefs, we kind of talked out how they always play the Chiefs close. Chiefs are probably still going to win. We all picked
this
the
one
Chiefs.
is also it's at Kansas City, so
Right.
This is
It's going to be one of those games where you all go, okay, the Chargers can compete, but they're not there yet. And
I would be genuinely shocked if the Chiefs just blow them out. I think, like you said, Gordon, it's going to be close. The Chargers are going to be able to keep with it. I think both Herbert and Mahomes are going to have great stat lines. I don't think Herbert's going to miss Keenan Allen twice wide open like he did. That was, to me, an irregularity. But I think the Chiefs are going to pull away with about 8 minutes left in the fourth. And, at the end, it's going to be like a 34-24, 34-27 kind of game.
Right.
Assuming the Chiefs offense can click, but with how bad the Chargers defense has been at times, I think that they'll be able to.
This actually, with you saying that, this could be the jump start the Chiefs has needed to get that offense going.
Well, we also thought that about their game against the Bears, but
True.
But they seem to be incorporating Rasheed
More
Rice.
motivated to embarrass a division rival, to be fair. I want to skip over the Eagles versus Dolphins because I feel like that's going to be the most debated game here. I want to just kind of 49ers and Vikings first. While I picked the 49ers, if the 49ers did not lose to the Browns, I would have picked the Vikings this week because I feel like this would have been a trap game for the 49ers, if not for the fact that they just lost. I think they're not going to lose 2 in a row.
But also, the Minnesota doesn't have Justin Jefferson. I feel like that matters.
It definitely matters, and it's why I think San Fran wins.
That would just add to the fact that it's trap game.
Somehow, I'm just saying, in an alternate world where the 49ers made that field goal, I feel like this would have been a trap game. I don't think it is now, though. I think they're going to be fucking pissed, and they're going to destroy the Vikings.
I mean, I don't think this game is going to be particularly close. I mean, I think we knew going in that they weren't going to have Justin Jefferson because that injury occurred right before before this past weekend. But
A-Chain and Jefferson same week.
Yeah, the Vikings, I don't think they have a shot.
No.
Like, I actually thought the Browns could. I picked the Niners to win against the Browns, but I knew the Browns had a shot because of their defense.
Right.
Vikings don't have that. The Vikings don't have anything that will allow them to compete against the Niners.
Right. I don't think so. I think if the Niners were coming into this game undefeated, they don't have Justin Jefferson because it's in Minnesota, that's kind of where I was getting the idea it could have been a trap game. But yeah, now I don't think it will be. Shreyas, though, you picked the Vikings. Why?
There's a lot of injury problems. I mean, yeah, McCaffrey may play, but is he going to be 100%? Deebo Samuel's another injury problem also. And now it's also have leagues figured Brock Purdy out? Have they not? That's another question as well. I mean, and plus Vikings are also in every game. I think they've been in every game this season. They've had a chance to win, I think, every game this season. So it could be a neck-to-neck game. It's a close one. I'm not saying Vikings will blow them out, but
right.
I do believe
that's kind of where my head was at before the 49ers lost, and now probably want revenge on the entire league. All right, our final game here: Dolphins-Eagles. Dolphins-Eagles.
Who's gonna start?
The Eagles aren't gonna lose 2 in a row. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The Eagles are too good of a team to lose 2 in a row. I don't care to who it is. They're not losing 2 games in a row. Not to mention,
unless Minshew's starting.
To win. As much as I want the Eagles to win, I hope they win. I want them to win. I think they're going to win. There's a chance we lose because of our secondary. Because of the situation in our secondary. There's that chance we lose because of that.
Yeah, my concern is how the fuck do you stop Tyreek Hill? However, while I'm picking the Eagles to win, I am concerned. But it is in Philly. We have our crowd behind us. It does go a long way. We'll see, though.
And then there's the fact of our offensive coordinator's horrible situational play calling. That is the key factor to the one.
All I'm gonna say is they better run the fucking ball more than 14 times. When they run the ball less than 14 times, they have a horrible record. And whenever they run it more than 14 times, they have an incredible record. I wonder why that is.
You guys, if you want to win this game, this is the only game that this in our picks here that I'm in the minority on because I picked Miami. You guys are going to have to run the ball because you're going to have to keep it out of the Miami offense's hand. I don't think you guys have the personnel to really slow down Miami because you don't have the corners that are going to be able to really press man and slow them down. And there's one thing that Miami can do. They like to use motion. I think they use it more than any team in football. They have the speed, so all they need to do, they get the ball out quickly, they get it in their playmakers' hands, and then they're just off to the races. You guys don't have the personnel to really slow that down, and I don't think your guys' pass rush is going to be able to get there fast enough with how Miami runs their offense. And offensively, no team has been as creative as Miami this year.
With all the injuries in the secondary, now this is kind of joke. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Eagles have a guy on the practice squad. Sometimes it's called up by the name of Devin Allen, and he was an Olympic hurdler. He's got incredible speed. There's a touchdown from the preseason like last year where nobody was even near him. I would have just loved if they could have taught him how to be a cornerback just to see his speed compared to Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying he could guard Tyreek Hill. I just would love to see the foot race between the two. That's all.
I know what you're talking about.
You need to give
the issue of our pass rush, huh? I'm sorry. What's up? The noise cut out.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, if you guys can give the ball to Swift or whatever running back you want to use this week, and just eat that clock, that's how you guys are going to win. But otherwise, I don't think you're going to be able to win a shootout.
I mean,
Shootout. I have more faith in a shootout with our offense, honestly, but because I feel like
the issue of
I
a
don't think
shootout
it's going to
is
be a shootout.
defense
I'll
shows.
tell you why.
Going
I'll
into
tell you why.
Philadelphia,
I'll tell you why.
on primetime, it's hard to put up points there during a night game, especially. I think Miami is going to
gets the
struggle to
ball
get
out
to
quickly,
25-30.
Tua gets the ball out quickly, and the thing is that the Eagles aren't getting sacks, but we're getting a lot of QB pressures. The issue isn't the fact that we can't pass rush. The issue is the QB. We're getting a lot of QB pressures. We're forcing a lot of quick passes. The issue is Tua gets the ball out as the second he hikes the ball. Like just said, the Dolphins motion they're the team that motions the most in the league. Whether it's the running back, the wide receivers, the trick plays they have. Unlike Canada, the trick plays actually work. Their offense is unique. The Eagles haven't played an offense like the Miami Dolphins offense. Not once, not one time. And this is a new defensive coordinator on top of that. So the issue is like Jess said, we have to keep the ball out of Tua's hands. It cannot. If we get to a shootout, it'll be a nightmare for we'll be blown out. Simple as that. Well, maybe we'll probably get to 21, but as soon as we get to 21, it'll be over after that. If we even get that far.
We're going to need a big bounce. This is going to have to be Devontae Smith's bounce back game, in my opinion, if the Eagles want a shot. That's my thoughts.
Devontae Smith, I feel like, has been getting open. It's more like Jalen Hurts goes into a game thinking,
yeah, but
this guy's
Smitty's
gonna go
dropped
off,
a
and then he
couple
forces
recently.
it.
He's
dropped.
He had one that
there.
he should have had, and he just completely dropped. Like,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah. So, I think if the Eagles win, you're going to see a big game from Smitty. If they lose, I don't think Smitty's going to have much at all. Like, that's kind of how I'm leaning. Is like, if Smitty has a big game, they'll win. But that's the only way they win. That's my hunch.
All right.
That covers every single game. It's been a long 2 hours. It's been fun though.
We were talking about, oh, this is going to take half an hour, guys.
Well, to be fair, this week we kind of had to cover everything.
Yeah, we cover everything.
Going forward, we're going to do a Tuesday, Thursday schedule. On Tuesdays, you can expect us to cover the games that happened that week, kind of rank the teams. We're not going to go through a whole tier maker. We'll go over a top 10 list, which you can see it's been rotating on the side over there this whole time. Our top 10s have been rotating through. Our picks down the bottom as well. You can see that. We'll keep that every week. We'll have that going. So we'll discuss that on Tuesday. Then our Thursday show will just be focused on the upcoming games and any like news bits that come out up to that point. So this show, you kind of got 2 hours because you got the hour of both shows. So going forward, it should be an hour Tuesday, hour Thursday. Thank you guys for checking out the channel. We got our Twitter link down below. We have you can follow us on social media for those of us that have it listed. It's on screen. I'll try and get that in the description as well. I'll add that shortly. And yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for being here with me, my beautiful co-hosts. And yeah, guys, until next time, we've been the Pigskin Banter. We'll see you all later.
I want it to be the prolet spheroid, but it is what it is.
It should be Baker Mayfield's boner.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll see you around.
I don't think I get much traction in the algorithm.